Welcome, brave souls, to a journey through the misty waters and shadowed banks of Mississippi. Today, we will explore 5 of the state's most haunted river places, where tragic events, mysterious deaths, and restless spirits have left their mark. As we glide along these eerie waterways, prepare to hear stories of ghostly figures, unexplained phenomena, and whispers from the past. So, dim the lights, settle in, and let the currents of these haunted rivers carry you into a world where the living and the supernatural meet. The Mississippi River has long been a lifeline, a twisting artery of commerce, culture, and history, stretching over 2,300 miles from its source at Lake Itasca in Minnesota to the Gulf of Mexico. Its waters have carried everything from cargo-laden steamboats to the dreams of countless settlers. Along its banks, towns rose and fell, battles were fought, and countless stories of human triumph and tragedy unfolded. Yet, beneath the surface of its mighty currents, the river holds secrets that seem almost alive, whispering of events long past. Among the most enduring of these tales is that of the ghost ship of Algiers Point, a spectral echo that continues to haunt the waters of New Orleans. Algiers Point, on the western bank of the river, opposite the French Quarter, is a neighborhood steeped in history. In the 19th century, the Mississippi was a bustling thoroughfare filled with paddle wheel, steamboats, ferries, and small rivercraft. The river brought wealth, but it also brought danger. Steamboat fires, collisions, and drownings were common, and the river became a graveyard for those who underestimated its power. It was during this era that the first sightings of the ghost ship were reported. Locals describe it as a vessel shrouded in mist, its wooden hull weathered and ghostly under the moonlight. Some say the ship bears the fated name of a long-lost steamboat, while others insist it has no name at all, as if it exists outside of time. Witnesses often recount a sense of uncanny stillness when the ship appears. The river becomes eerily quiet. Even the usual hum of night insects seems to pause, as though the water itself holds its breath. And then comes the musica faint, haunting melody of a calliope, the kind that once entertained passengers with lively tunes as they journeyed upriver. But in these sightings, the music is slow, warped, almost mournful, echoing over the water with no apparent source. One of the earliest documented sightings occurred in the late 1800s. A riverboat pilot, returning from Baton Rouge under the cover of night, reported a ship floating silently in the fog near Algiers Point. He claimed the vessel's lights flickered like dying stars, and that he could hear the calliope music playing a tune he recognized from his childhood, though no one had been aboard for decades. He tried to approach, but his compass spun wildly, and the fog thickened, forcing him to retreat. When the sun rose, there was no sign of the vessel, and the river was as calm as if nothing had occurred. Over the years, fishermen, ferry operators, and even tourists have reported similar encounters. Some have seen the ship gliding along the water, unconnected to any current, vanishing suddenly when approached. Others have described ghostly figures moving on deck, crew members in period uniforms, tending to unseen duties, frozen in a moment that has repeated itself for over a century. One riverboat tour guide recalls a family pointing at the water in alarm. A young boy swore he saw a man waving from the ship, his face pale and expressionless. Moments later, the vessel had disappeared entirely, leaving only ripples in the water. Scientists and skeptics have tried to explain the phenomenon. Some suggest it is a natural optical illusion, caused by fog, light reflections, and the human brain's tendency to find patterns. Others believe it may be a rare mirage, a combination of humidity, temperature differences, and the reflection of city lights on the water. Yet, the consistency of the reports over more than a century, and the common details, flickering lights, ghostly figures, eerie calliope, music defy simple explanation. The ghost ship is not the only spectral presence on the Mississippi. The river itself seems to hold echoes of its history. Along its banks, remnants of sunken vessels lie hidden beneath murky waters, while old levees and dockyards stand as silent witnesses to past lives. Some locals claim to hear whispers from the river at night, soft voices speaking in languages long abandoned, or the clinking of chains as if cargo is being loaded by unseen hands. Others speak of phantom paddle wheels turning slowly in the fog, their creaking rhythm echoing across the water. Stories like these have made the Mississippi more than just a river. It has become a living legend. The ghost ship of Algiers Point is part of a broader tapestry of river lore, a symbol of the river's memory and the lives it has carried. Tourists are drawn to the area not only for the beauty of the water and the charm of the historic neighborhoods, but also for the chance to glimpse the unexplained. Riverboat cruises at night often include a stop near Algiers Point, where guides recount tales of the ghost ship, and passengers scan the fog in hopes of catching a fleeting glimpse of the spectral vessel. Whether the ghost ship is a trick of light, an echo of the past, or something more mysterious, it endures as part of the Mississippi River's identity. It reminds those who sail its waters that history is never truly gone. Every ripple, every misty fog, carries a memory, a fragment of the past refusing to be forgotten. In the quiet moments before dawn, when the river is calm and the fog drifts low, some swear they can hear the calliope music once more, drifting across the water from a ship that may never have existed, or perhaps exists in a realm just beyond human sight. The Mississippi flows on, powerful and eternal, a witness to centuries of human triumph, tragedy, and mystery. And somewhere along its twisting path, just past Algiers Point, the ghost ship sails silently, a spectral reminder that some stories are as enduring as the river itself. Its presence is not malevolent, only melancholic, a bridge between past and present, urging all who see it to remember the countless lives that have traveled, and sometimes ended, along the mighty waters of the Mississippi. The Yazoo River, winding quietly through the rich, fertile lands of the Mississippi Delta, carries more than water. It carries centuries of history, memory, and sorrow. Though it may appear tranquil and unassuming on a calm day, the river has long been the center of some of Mississippi's most haunting tales. Among these is a story that has lingered in the Delta for generations, the legend of the Yazoo Indian tribe and their tragic march into the river, a story that continues to cast a shadow over the land and waters surrounding Satasha Bridge. Long before European settlers arrived, the Yazoo Indian tribe thrived along the banks of the river that now bears their name. They were known for their resilience, their deep knowledge of the land, and their unwavering commitment to preserving their way of life. But as French explorers and traders moved deeper into the Mississippi Delta, tensions grew. The Yazoo people resisted surrendering their territory, refusing to abandon their villages and sacred lands. The French, determined to assert control over the region, launched a campaign to subdue the tribe, a campaign that would ultimately end in tragedy. According to local lore, when the Yazoo warriors realized they could not defeat the French forces, they made a harrowing choice. Rather than surrender, the tribe marched en masse into the waters of the Yazoo River, disappearing beneath the currents in an act of defiance and sacrifice. Some stories claim they chanted ancient prayers as they walked into the river, their voices mingling with the rustle of the Delta's trees and the quiet lapping of the water against the shore. Others suggest that only the warriors entered, leaving the rest of the tribe behind, their grief echoing across the land. Regardless of the details, the result was the same. Countless lives were lost, and the river became a tomb. Over the centuries, the tragedy has been remembered not in monuments or plaques, but in the whispers of the river itself. Locals report strange occurrences near Satasha Bridge, a crossing that spans the Yazoo River near the old Delta towns. Some describe an unsettling chill in the air, even on the warmest of summer nights. Others claim that as fog rises from the river at dawn or dusk, it seems to take shape, forming shadowy figures that vanish as quickly as they appear. The most persistent reports involve sound. Travelers and fishermen alike have spoken of low, mournful moans drifting across the water. At first, these noises are subtle, almost imperceptible, a gentle sigh carried on the breeze. But as one listens longer, they grow clearer, taking the form of human voices crying out in anguish. Many believe these sounds are the trapped souls of the Yazoo tribe, still wandering the river, unable to find peace. Some witnesses have described hearing chants in a language no one living remembers. prayers from a time long before European settlement, carried through the trees and across the water. One story tells of a fisherman who anchored near Satasha Bridge one moonless night. He had heard the legends, but dismissed them as tales meant to scare children. Hours into his night on the river, he began to hear faint chanting, almost melodic, coming from upstream. At first, he thought it was a nearby owl, or the rustling of branches, but as the sounds grew louder, he realized they were voices, joined in rhythm, sorrowful and unending. Terrified, he tried to row away, but his boat seemed stuck, as though the river itself resisted his escape. Only after dawn broke did the sounds fade, leaving the fisherman shaken, unable to forget the mournful echo of lost lives. Others recount more visual encounters. Some say they have seen shadowy figures wading in the river near the old crossings, outlines of men and women glimmering in the fog. These figures do not move as normal humans do. They drift, almost gliding along the water's surface, sometimes reaching out toward passers-by with hands that seem in. Several witnesses report that animals, especially dogs, react nervously near these areas, barking at empty spaces or refusing to enter the water, as if sensing the lingering presence of the tribe. Skeptics often try to rationalize these experiences. Fog, temperature shifts, and natural river sounds are frequently cited as explanations for the moans and apparitions. Optical illusions created by moonlight reflecting off the water could account for some sightings of shadowy figures. However, the consistency of reports, stretching back for decades, and the shared details among independent witnesses suggest that there is something more mysterious at work. The stories have persisted, passed down through generations, becoming part of the cultural fabric of the Mississippi Delta. The Yazoo River itself seems to carry the weight of history. Its waters, often calm on the surface, hide countless remnants of the past beneath their depths. Sunken logs, debris from centuries of flooding, and the faint memory of lives lost all contribute to the river's haunting atmosphere. For those who approach the river at night, there is a sense that history is not simply behind them. It's alive, present, and watching. The river does not discriminate between locals and visitors. Anyone who ventures near Satasha Bridge may feel the touch of the past in the whisper of the wind or the sorrowful moans carried across the water. The legend of the Yazoo Indian tribe is a story of defiance, loss, and memory. It reminds those who hear it that some histories cannot be buried, that some tragedies linger in the land and in the waters where they occur. The river, ever flowing, becomes a keeper of stories, a silent witness to human courage and sorrow. Those who encounter the haunting sounds or see the ghostly figures near Satasha Bridge leave with a sense of reverence and unease, knowing they have glimpsed something beyond ordinary understanding. Even today, the Yazoo River continues to wind its way through the delta, lush and vibrant during the day, yet transformed at night into a place of memory and lingering spirits. Travelers who pause along its banks cannot help but wonder whether the moans they hear are echoes of a long-lost tribe, a spectral chorus reminding the living that the past, no matter how deeply buried, always finds a way to be heard. The waters of the Yazoo River, carrying life and history alike, ensure that the story of the Yazoo Indian tribe remains alive, forever flowing alongside the current, whispering to all who listen. The Pascagoula River, flowing gently through southeastern Mississippi, is more than a body of water. It is a living witness to centuries of human history, carrying both life and the weight of tragedy along its winding path. Its waters are calm and unassuming by day, reflecting the dense forests and marshlands that line its banks. Yet, beneath the surface and in the stillness of night, the river holds one of the state's most haunting legends. The story of the Pascagoula tribe and their fateful final march into the waters they had long called home. The Pascagoula people were known for their resilience and their intimate connection to the land. They thrived along the river, fishing its waters, hunting along its banks, and living in harmony with the abundant wildlife. But as European explorers and settlers moved further into the region, tensions escalated. The Pascagoula, like many other tribes, resisted displacement and refused to surrender their lands. Their resistance, however, came at a tremendous cost. Faced with an overwhelming force, The tribe saw no path to survival and made a tragic decision that would echo through the centuries. According to local legend, when the Pascagoula realized defeat was inevitable, they gathered along the riverbank in a solemn, unified assembly. Rather than submit to capture or enslavement, they chose to end their lives in the only way they believed could preserve their honor. With arms linked, they began to march into the waters of the Pascagoula River. As they waded deeper, they sang a haunting death song, a melody meant to honor their ancestors and to mark their passage from life to eternity. The song, said to be both mournful and defiant, carried over the river and through the surrounding forests, a final tribute to a people unwilling to relinquish their freedom. The story has been passed down through generations, growing in resonance and sorrow with each retelling. Locals speak of nights when the river is quiet, so quiet that even the chirping of crickets seems muted, and the wind feels still. On these nights, some claim to hear the Pascagoula tribe's song drifting across the water. It is described as ethereal, a haunting melody that seems to float just above the river's surface, neither entirely of this world nor wholly of the past. The tune is soft but persistent, a reminder of lives lost, of resistance, and of a people who chose death over subjugation. Many visitors and residents have reported strange experiences near the river after dark. One fisherman recounted an evening when he had anchored near a bend in the river. As he prepared to cast his nets, a cold mist descended, and he began to hear soft singing. At first, he thought it was a nearby bird or the echo of his own movements, but the melody was unmistakably human. He described it as mournful, carrying a sorrow so profound it brought tears to his eyes. He could not see anyone, yet the sound seemed to surround him, emanating from the river itself. When dawn came, the mist lifted, and the song vanished, leaving him with only the memory of its haunting presence. Others have reported seeing shadowy figures moving along the banks or even wading just beneath the surface of the river. These apparitions are said to be indistinct, ghostly silhouettes, yet their presence is palpable. Animals near the river sometimes react to these sightings, refusing to cross certain areas or barking at spaces where no one is visible. It is as if the river itself remembers the past, carrying the weight of the tragedy in its waters and whispering it to those who are attuned to listen. Skeptics have tried to explain these occurrences, attributing them to natural phenomena such as fog, wind, or the trick of moonlight on the water. Some suggest that the brain fills in patterns when confronted with uncertainty, creating phantom figures and melodies where none exist. Yet, the stories remain remarkably consistent across decades, told independently by locals, travelers, and historians alike. The persistence of the legend suggests that the river carries more than water, it carries memory. The Pascagoula River's waters have claimed countless lives over the centuries, from accidental drownings to storms that swept through the delta. The river's history is inseparable from its legend. The death of the Pascagoula tribe became part of the river's identity, a story embedded in the currents and the surrounding landscapes. Even today, as modern bridges and roads cross the river, the echo of the tribe's song is said to linger, a spectral reminder of courage, sacrifice, and the enduring bond between a people and their homeland. For those who venture to the river at night, the experience can be both beautiful and unsettling. The calm surface of the water, reflecting the moon and stars, contrasts sharply with the knowledge that the river holds memories of unimaginable sorrow. Some who hear the song describe an overwhelming sense of respect and reverence, as if the river itself is teaching a lesson about history, honor, and the cost of resistance. The melody is never harsh or frightening. Rather, it is sorrowful, dignified, and hauntingly beautiful. A reminder that some stories cannot be silenced, no matter how much time has passed. The Pascagoula River continues to flow, its waters winding through forests and fields, past towns that have grown up along its banks, carrying commerce, life, and history. But in the quiet hours, when the world is still, those who listen carefully may hear the faint strains of the Pascagoula tribe's death song echoing through the mist. It is a sound that bridges centuries, connecting the present with a past that refuses to be forgotten. In this way, the Pascagoula River is not merely a river. It is a living monument to resilience and sacrifice. Its waters, calm on the surface, yet deep and storied beneath, remind all who encounter it that history flows alongside life, carrying the memories of those who came before. The mournful song of the Pascagoula tribe is a testament to the power of memory and the enduring spirit of a people whose courage continues to resonate across time and water. The river, ever flowing, ensures that the tale of the Pascagoula tribe remains alive, whispering softly to all who pause to listen. The Pearl River, winding along the border between Mississippi and Louisiana, has long been a vital artery for trade, transportation, and travel. Its waters have carried goods, travelers, and stories for centuries, connecting towns and plantations along its winding path. Yet beneath its calm surface lies a haunting chapter of history, one that continues to echo through the misty waters. The story of the Eliza battle, a steamboat whose tragic end has left an indelible mark on the river and those who traverse it. The Eliza battle was a typical river steamboat of its era, plying the Pearl River in the early 20th century. She carried passengers and freight alike, moving through the Mississippi-Louisiana Delta with the steady rhythm of her paddle wheel. Life aboard was ordinary for the time, filled with the chatter of travelers, the calls of deckhands, and the occasional strains of a calliope, playing cheerful tunes to entertain passengers. But on a fateful night, the ordinary became catastrophic. In the early hours of a summer evening, the Eliza battle caught fire. The blaze reportedly began in the lower deck, where cargo and coal were stored, and quickly spread through the wooden structure. Panic ensued as passengers scrambled to escape the flames. Many were trapped below decks, while others leaped into the river, hoping to find safety in the murky water. Despite rescue efforts, dozens lost their lives in the inferno, and the steamboat ultimately sank, leaving behind only charred remains and a river that would forever remember the tragedy. Over time, the memory of the disaster faded from newspapers and local records, but it never left the river itself. Locals began reporting strange phenomena near the stretch of water where the Eliza battle met its end. Fishermen would hear the distant sound of a paddle wheel churning through the water on calm nights, even when no boat was in sight. Others claimed to see flickering lights moving along the river, lights that resembled lanterns aboard a steamboat. These were often accompanied by the faint creaking and groaning of wooden decks, a sound impossible to trace to any known vessel. The most striking reports involved sightings of the phantom steamboat itself. Witnesses describe a spectral vessel gliding along the river, its hull glowing faintly through the mist, its smokestack releasing no smoke but somehow visible in the moonlight. The phantom Eliza battle is often accompanied by otherworldly sounds. The distant clanging of the bell, the rhythmic splash of a paddle wheel, and faint, almost inaudible cries of passengers in distress. Those who have encountered the apparition describe an overwhelming sense of sorrow and loss, as if the river itself mourns the lives claimed by the fire. One particularly vivid account comes from a riverboat captain navigating the Pearl River in the 1930s. He reported that, as he neared the site of the old wreck, a thick fog descended, unusual for that season. Out of the haze, the outline of a steamboat emerged, glowing faintly. The captain recounted hearing the unmistakable sounds of a paddle wheel, creaking and splashing as though the boat were alive. He swore he could hear passengers calling out, some shouting for help, others singing softly, perhaps in a desperate attempt to comfort one another. As quickly as it appeared, the apparition vanished, leaving only the sound of his own heartbeat and the lapping of the river. Over the decades, stories of the Eliza battle have multiplied. Some locals claim the ghost ship appears most often during summer nights, when the air is humid and the river runs low. Others report seeing it on foggy mornings, drifting silently along the current before disappearing into the mist. Occasionally, residents along the riverbank speak of strange, cold gusts of wind without explanation, or of seeing ghostly figures moving along the water, figures that vanish when approached. The tales suggest that the river holds on to its past, replaying the tragedy as if time itself refuses to let it be forgotten. Skeptics argue that these sightings can be explained by natural phenomena: fog reflecting moonlight, distant boats mistaken for phantom ships, or the mind filling in gaps in low visibility conditions. Yet, the consistency of the stories, especially over decades, challenges simple explanations. The shared details, the paddle wheel sounds, the flickering lantern lights. The faint cry suggests that something deeper is at work, a lingering presence anchored to the river by tragedy and memory. The Pearl River, flowing serenely along its path today, carries with it the stories of countless people. Yet the tale of the Eliza battle remains one of the most chilling. It is a reminder that the river is not merely a geographical feature. It is a living witness, holding the echoes of both triumph and disaster. Those who travel its waters, especially at night, are often struck by an eerie awareness, a sense that the river remembers more than just the passage of time. Tourists and locals alike have come to regard the area around the site of the Eliza battle with a mixture of reverence and fear. River tours occasionally point out the location where the steamboat went down, recounting the tragic history, and noting that, on certain nights, the ghostly vessel can be glimpsed through the fog. Whether one believes in spirits or dismisses them as folklore, the stories endure, a testament to the lasting power of tragedy and memory. Even today, as modern boats and ferries navigate the Pearl River, the legend of the Eliza battle persists. Those who venture near the site sometimes report hearing the faint creak of a paddle wheel, the ghostly glow of lanterns through the fog, or the soft, sorrowful cries of passengers long gone. The river has carried many things over the centuries: cargo, commerce, and travelers, but it has also carried grief, preserving the memory of those who died on that fiery night. The Pearl River flows onward, serene and powerful, yet in its depths and along its banks, the past lingers. The phantom steamboat, Eliza battle, is a reminder that some tragedies leave marks that time cannot erase. The river, in its quiet, relentless way, keeps the story alive, ensuring that those who listen carefully may still hear the sorrowful echoes of a steamboat lost to fire and water, returning night after night to the scene of its own demise. The Chunky River, meandering quietly through Lauderdale County, Mississippi, is a serene waterway by day, its banks lined with tall pines and moss-draped oaks. But beneath this calm surface and amidst the shadows of its wooded edges, the river carries one of the most chilling legends in the state. The tale of Stucky Espridge and the ghost of its namesake, a man whose life and crimes have become inseparable from the river itself. In the early 19th century, travelers along the rural roads near the Chunky River relied heavily on inns and small roadside establishments, places where weary travelers could rest and replenish before continuing their journeys. One such inn, located near the river's crossing, was operated by a man named Stucky. By outward appearances, he was a kindly innkeeper, welcoming and hospitable. But beneath his friendly demeanor lay a dark, murderous intent. According to legend, Stucky lured travelers to his inn with the promise of food, shelter, and safety, only to trap them once they were inside. Once his victims were in his care, Stucky would rob them, then murder them in cold blood. It is said he disposed of the bodies by throwing them into the Chunky River, their lives and belongings lost to the current. Over time, rumors of the disappearances spread, whispered by those who had narrowly escaped the inn, or by passing travelers who noticed the increasing absence of those who ventured too close. Despite the fear he inspired, Stucky continued his murderous spree for months, perhaps even years, until law enforcement and local citizens finally caught him. Stucky's end was as grim as his crimes. Captured and tried, he was executed for his murders, and his death was said to occur near the bridge that would later bear his name. The bridge itself, spanning the Chunky River, became a place of fear and caution, a landmark marking both the site of his crimes and his execution. But the story did not end with his death. Locals soon began reporting strange occurrences at the bridge, sightings that suggested that Stucky had not left the world of the living behind. Witnesses describe a spectral figure appearing near or on the bridge, often carrying a lantern, the faint glow cutting through the darkness like a warning. Some claimed to see him hanging from the bridge, replaying the final moments of his life over and over, his form swinging slightly as though caught between worlds. Others report glimpsing him walking along the riverbank at night, staring at passing cars or travelers with eyes that seemed to pierce through the fog and darkness. The spirit of Stuckey, it is said, remains bound to the bridge, unable to find peace after a life filled with violence and cruelty. The ghost is not always visible. Some nights, travelers report feeling an inexplicable chill as they cross the bridge, or hear footsteps following them, though no one is present. Others recount hearing muffled cries or the clanging of a lantern swinging in the night breeze, accompanied by a sense of being watched. Animals, too, react strangely near Stuckey's bridge. Dogs may growl or refuse to cross, sensing something unseen yet undeniably present. One particularly chilling account comes from a local man who crossed the bridge late at night while returning home from a hunting trip. As he drove slowly across, he saw a figure standing in the middle of the bridge, holding a lantern high. The figure's clothing was ragged, and his movements were stiff, unnatural. The man froze in terror, unsure whether to stop or drive past. As he watched, the figure lifted from the bridge, as if suspended, and then vanished completely. The man later learned that this spot corresponded to the approximate location where Stuckey was said to have been executed, a fact that left him shaken for years. Other reports describe encounters with the ghost near the river itself. Fishermen and campers along the Chunky River recount seeing a pale human-shaped form standing near the water's edge, or glimpsing a lantern bobbing through the trees along the bank. The river seems to amplify the sense of dread. The gentle lapping of water against the shore becomes ominous in the still of night, a reminder of the countless victims Stuckey sent into the current. Some locals even claim to hear faint, desperate voices mingling with the wind, as though the souls of the murdered travelers are still calling out, trapped between the world of the living and the dead. Skeptics argue that the tales of Stuckey's Bridge are merely folklore, exaggerated by generations of storytelling and a natural human fear of dark, isolated places. They suggest that the shadowy figures and eerie sounds could be misidentified wildlife, the play of moonlight on the water, or the imagination of travelers spurred by the bridge's grim reputation. Yet the consistency of the reports, passed down from one generation to the next, and the shared details of the ghostly lantern and the hanging figure, make it difficult to dismiss the legend entirely. Today, Stuckey's Bridge remains a site of fascination and fear. Travelers crossing the bridge are often warned by locals to be respectful and cautious, especially after dark. Photographers and paranormal enthusiasts sometimes attempt to capture evidence of the ghost. Drawn by the allure of the unknown and the history embedded in the river and its surroundings, the legend of Stuckey and his bridge has become more than a story. It is a part of the cultural identity of Lauderdale County, a reminder of the dark chapters hidden beneath the surface of quiet rivers and rural roads. The Chunky River continues its steady flow, winding through forests, farmland, and small towns, carrying both life and memory in its currents. But those who venture near Stuckey's Bridge at night may feel the presence of the past, the lingering spirit of a man who chose violence in life and cannot find rest in death. The lantern, the hanging figure, the cold gusts of wind, and the whispers of unseen footsteps all serve as a reminder that some deeds leave a permanent mark on both the landscape and the imagination. The bridge, the river, and the legend endure together, a haunting tableau that keeps the story of Stuckey alive for all who dare to cross it. The Big Black River, winding through the heart of central Mississippi, is a quiet and unassuming waterway today, lined with trees that sway gently in the breeze and waters that reflect the sky above. Yet beneath its calm surface and along its banks lies a scar of history, a place where courage, sacrifice, and tragedy collided during one of the most pivotal moments of the American Civil War. The Battle of Big Black River Bridge, fought on May 17, 1863, left a profound mark on the landscape and, as many claim, on the spirits who still linger there. The battle was a crucial engagement during the Vicksburg Campaign. Union forces, under the command of General Ulysses S. Grant, sought to cut off Confederate troops retreating from Jackson, Mississippi. The Confederate forces, commanded by General John C. Pemberton, attempted to make a stand at the bridge spanning the Big Black River, hoping to delay the Union advance and protect their retreat. What unfolded was a brutal clash of strategy and force, leaving the riverbanks strewn with the dead and wounded. Contemporary accounts describe a battle fierce in its intensity and swift in its consequences. Many Confederate soldiers were captured, while others were killed as they tried to defend the bridge. It is said that the river itself absorbed the chaos of that day. The waters, once peaceful, were churned with the movement of soldiers, horses, and cannon fire. The air rang with a cacophony of battle shouts, gunfire, and the roar of artillery. Lives were lost in staggering numbers, and the bridge, a mere crossing over the river, became a grim symbol of defeat and desperation. The Confederate forces were forced to retreat, leaving the Union Army to secure the bridge and press onward toward Vicksburg. Yet, according to legend, the echoes of that day did not fade with time. Visitors to the Big Black River Bridge report experiences that defy explanation. Some describe hearing the unmistakable sounds of marching feet on the old planks of the bridge or along the riverbanks, though no soldiers are present. Others claim to hear distant cannon fire, a low rumble that rises and falls, sometimes accompanied by the sharp crack of rifles. The noises are said to be most prominent during quiet evenings or early mornings, when the river is shrouded in mist and the natural sounds of wildlife are subdued. Many who hear these sounds report an overwhelming sense of sorrow, as if the spirits of the fallen soldiers are replaying their final moments in a loop that time cannot erase. Eyewitness accounts also describe apparitions appearing near the river. Shadowy figures, dressed in tattered Confederate and Union uniforms, have been seen pacing along the riverbank or crossing the bridge. Some witnesses insist they have seen soldiers helping wounded comrades, their faces twisted with pain or determination, only to vanish when approached. Others recount seeing ghostly horses and wagons, remnants of the logistical efforts of war, fading into the fog along with the figures of men who fell defending their cause. These visions are often accompanied by a chill in the air, a sudden drop in temperature, and an unsettling feeling of being watched, as though the spirits of the fallen are aware of the living who tread near their resting place. One notable account comes from a local historian who frequently visits the site to document Civil War landmarks. While walking along the riverbank late one afternoon, he heard the rhythmic pounding of boots approaching from the direction of the bridge. At first, he assumed it was another visitor or a ranger patrolling the site, but as the sound grew louder, he saw the unmistakable silhouettes of soldiers carrying muskets and moving in formation. The historian froze in shock, watching the figures march across the bridge and disappear into the fog on the far side. When he returned the following day, the area was empty. Yet the impression of that encounter lingered with him for years, a reminder of the battle's enduring presence. The Big Black River Bridge is not just a place of eerie sounds and ghostly figures. It is a site steeped in historical memory. Locals and visitors alike treat the river and its surrounding areas with respect, aware that countless lives were lost here. The spirits of soldiers, whether Union or Confederate, are said to remain, not out of malice, but because the battle left unresolved grief and unfinished business in the world of the living. The river itself seems to carry these echoes, its currents whispering fragments of history to those who listen closely, carrying both the triumph and tragedy of a nation divided. Skeptics argue that the reports of ghostly soldiers and phantom cannon fire can be explained by natural sounds, wind rustling through the trees, water moving over rocks, or distant human activity. Others point to the power of suggestion. The knowledge that a fierce battle took place here may prime visitors to interpret ordinary noises as supernatural. Yet the consistency of the accounts, spanning decades and told by individuals who approached the site with no prior expectation of encountering anything unusual, adds weight to the legend. Whether one sees these experiences as manifestations of history or true hauntings, there is no denying the river's profound connection to the past. In addition to ghostly sounds and sightings, some visitors report an almost palpable atmosphere near the river, a heaviness in the air, a sense of sorrow and tension that cannot be attributed to the natural environment alone. Dogs may refuse to cross the bridge, and even experienced hikers feel an unease that grows as evening falls. These subtle, intangible impressions suggest that the battle left more than physical scars. It left an imprint on the land itself, a memory embedded in the soil, the water, and the trees. Today, the Big Black River Bridge remains both a functional crossing and a historical site. Civil War enthusiasts, historians, and curious travelers visit to pay homage, learn about the battle, and sometimes to witness the unexplained. Those who hear the phantom marching, see ghostly soldiers, or sense the lingering grief of the fallen often leave with a profound respect for the history that unfolded here and an awareness that some events leave marks that cannot fade with time. The Big Black River flows onward, serene on the surface, yet heavy with memory beneath. It carries the whispers of history in its currents and the echoes of those who fought and died along its banks. The Battle of Big Black River Bridge may have ended over a century ago, but for those who listen closely on misty nights, the sounds of marching feet, distant cannon fire, and the voices of soldiers long gone remain alive, ensuring that the sacrifice and tragedy of that fateful day are never forgotten. The Tallahatchie River, winding quietly through the Mississippi Delta, is a river of both beauty and sorrow. Its waters, calm and reflective in the morning light, flow past fields of cotton and through small, historic towns that carry the weight of decades of history. Yet beneath its placid surface lies a story of profound tragedy, a story that forever changed the course of American history and left a shadow along the riverbanks. That story is the murder of Emmett Till, a 14-year-old boy whose life was brutally taken and whose death became a rallying cry for justice and civil rights. In the summer of 1955, Emmett Till traveled from Chicago to visit relatives in Money, Mississippi, a small town near the Tallahatchie River. He was a bright, lively boy, full of curiosity and charm, unaware that his presence in the Deep South would lead to unimaginable violence. In an incident that has been recounted countless times, Till was accused of offending a white woman in a local store, a claim that would escalate into a violent response from the woman's husband and his half-brother. In the night, these men abducted Till, brutally beating and murdering him before disposing of his body in the Tallahatchie River, weighing it down with a fan tied to his body. The discovery of Emmett Till's body shocked the nation. When his mutilated remains were recovered from the river, they were a stark reminder of the brutality and injustice faced by African Americans in the segregated South. The case drew international attention, and photographs of Till's face, unrecognizable after the violence, circulated widely, igniting outrage and galvanizing the civil rights movement. The river, once simply part of the landscape of the Delta, became a symbol of injustice, grief, and the need for change. Even today, locals and visitors report that the Tallahatchie River carries a presence beyond its natural currents. Some say that on quiet nights, when the water is still and the air hangs heavy with humidity, the restless spirit of Emmett Till can be felt near the river. Witnesses describe a subtle unease along the banks, a sense that the river itself is watching and remembering. Some claim to hear soft crying or faint whispers, though there is no one present, as if the river is replaying the grief of that night over and over. Others speak of fleeting visions, an outline of a young boy standing at the water's edge, looking out at the current, his gaze searching for justice that was delayed too long. Stories of encounters with the river vary. One local resident recounted walking along the Tallahatchie at dusk when a sudden chill swept over the air, unusual for the warmth of a Delta summer. At that moment, he thought he saw the figure of a young boy in torn clothing, standing near the water. The figure did not speak or move, yet the man felt a profound sadness emanating from the river. When he blinked, the boy was gone, leaving only the gentle flow of water and the rustle of leaves in the breeze. Such experiences are said to be more common during quiet, foggy mornings or evenings when the river is calm and the surroundings are still, as if the river itself allows a moment for memory to surface. The Tallahatchie River, while a natural landmark, has also become a site of reflection and remembrance. Visitors often come to honor Emmett Till's life and legacy, leaving flowers or small tokens along the banks where his story is remembered. The river serves as both a reminder of the horrors of the past and a symbol of the resilience of those who fight for justice. Some who approach the river speak of a weight in the air, a sense of history pressing down, as though the water holds the memories of countless souls who suffered along its banks. It is not malevolent, it is solemn, a presence of remembrance rather than threat. Over the decades, the legend of Emmett Till's spirit has intertwined with the broader narrative of the Tallahatchie River. His death was a turning point in American history, a catalyst that exposed the violent realities of racial injustice and galvanized a movement that would reshape the nation. In this way, the river carries more than water. It carries history, grief, and the echoes of a life taken too soon. The persistent reports of a spectral presence suggest that the past remains alive, a reminder that some injustices cannot be erased, and some spirits, though unseen, demand to be remembered. Skeptics may argue that the stories of Emmett Till's spirit are manifestations of collective memory or the imagination, intensified by the knowledge of the river's tragic history. Others suggest that the whispers and figures described by witnesses are simply natural sounds or shadows playing tricks in the evening light. Yet, the emotional resonance of the river and the consistency of the accounts lend power to the belief that the river is not just a physical space, but a vessel of memory. Those who come near feel it, whether consciously or subconsciously, the weight of history, the sorrow, and the call for justice that remains unfinished. For those who walk along the Tallahatchie River today, the experience is often reflective and humbling. The gentle flow of the water belies the tragedy it once witnessed, yet, in the stillness of the evening, one can almost hear the echo of a young boy's life and the injustice that ended it. Visitors leave with a sense of connection to history, a reminder that the past is never truly gone, and that rivers, like memory, carry both the beauty and the darkness of the world through time. The Tallahatchie River continues its steady journey through the Mississippi Delta, carrying with it the memory of Emmett Till and the many lives affected by his death. Its waters reflect the sun and the sky, but they also reflect the sorrow, resilience, and enduring quest for justice that followed. Some say that on certain nights, if one listens closely, they can hear the faint whispers of Emmett Till's spirit, a reminder of a life taken too soon, and of the enduring need for remembrance and accountability. The river, eternal and unyielding, ensures that the story of Emmett Till is never forgotten, flowing through time like its own witness to history. The Tombigbee River, winding through eastern Mississippi with a quiet grace, has long been a lifeline for the communities along its banks. Its waters carry commerce, wildlife, and history, flowing past forests, plantations, and small towns that have grown and changed over centuries. Yet beneath its tranquil surface, the river holds memories of human triumph and tragedy alike. Among these is one of the most haunting tales of the 19th century, the disaster of the steamboat Eliza Battle, a tragedy that continues to echo across the Tombigbee's waters. The Eliza Battle was a paddle-wheel steamboat typical of its era, ferrying passengers and cargo along the rivers of the Deep South. In 1858, she carried a full complement of travelers, families, and goods along the Tombigbee, moving steadily through the water under the guidance of her experienced crew. Steamboats were a symbol of prosperity and progress in the 19th century, yet they also carried inherent dangers. Fires aboard wooden vessels, fueled by coal or wood stoves, were an ever-present threat, and the Eliza Battle would fall victim to just such a catastrophe. On a summer evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon and the riverbank shadows stretched long across the water, a fire broke out aboard the Eliza Battle. Accounts vary, but it is believed that the blaze started near the boiler or in one of the lower decks where cargo was stored. The flames spread with terrifying speed, consuming the wooden structure and engulfing the passengers in smoke and panic. Those on board had little chance to escape, and chaos erupted as people scrambled for lifeboats or leaped into the river, seeking safety from the advancing fire. Despite efforts to save lives, many passengers perished in the inferno. Others drowned in the river, weighed down by the swift current or by the panic that overtook them in their desperate attempts to survive. When the fire finally subsided and the river settled into its usual calm, the Eliza battle was gone, leaving behind only charred debris and the anguished memories of a disaster that would become legendary along the Tombigbee River. The tragedy resonated deeply in the region, a stark reminder of the dangers of river travel in that era and of the human cost of progress. Over the decades, the story of the Eliza battle took on a spectral dimension. Locals began reporting strange phenomena along the stretch of river where the steamboat had burned. On foggy nights, some claimed to see the ghostly image of the Eliza battle gliding along the water. Witnesses describe a vessel glowing faintly through the mist, its wooden hull engulfed in spectral flames that illuminate the night in a haunting, otherworldly light. The sight is accompanied by the sounds of the disaster itself, the crackling of fire, the screams of passengers, and the rhythmic splashing of water as the doomed ship seems to move along the river once more. One account comes from a fisherman who had been navigating the Tombigbee on a summer night in the 1920s. As he passed the area where the Eliza battle had been lost, a thick fog descended, muffling the natural sounds of the river. Through the haze, he saw a glowing outline of a steamboat, flames licking the edges of its deck, and figures moving frantically among the passengers. The fisherman froze in terror, unable to move as the ghostly vessel drifted past him, accompanied by the distant cries of those who had perished over half a century earlier. Moments later, the apparition vanished, leaving only the sound of the current and the eerie memory of what he had witnessed. The phenomenon is not limited to visual sightings. Many have reported hearing the sounds of the Eliza battle on nights when the river is calm and the air is heavy with mist. The crackle of fire, the pounding of paddle wheels, and the anguished cries of passengers are said to rise from the river, sometimes faint and sometimes startlingly clear. Locals suggest that the river itself has absorbed the memory of the disaster, replaying the events for those sensitive enough to perceive them. Even those who do not see the ghostly vessel feel its presence, a palpable chill or sense of foreboding that seems to follow them along the riverbank. Skeptics attribute these experiences to natural explanations, fog, wind, or the imagination of those familiar with the tragic history. Yet the consistency of reports across decades and the vivid details shared by independent witnesses lend credibility to the legend. The apparition of the burning Eliza battle is said to appear most often on misty nights, particularly in summer, when the river is low and the fog hangs heavy over the water. Some suggest it is the river's way of remembering, a spectral echo of lives lost and a disaster that should not be forgotten. The Tombigbee River, while a vital artery of commerce and natural beauty, has become inseparable from the legend of the Eliza battle. The ghost ship serves as a reminder that human tragedy can leave an imprint on both the land and the imagination. Tourists, photographers, and paranormal enthusiasts sometimes visit the river at night, hoping to witness the ethereal sight for themselves. Many come away with a deep respect for the history and the lives lost, even if they do not see the vessel with their own eyes. The haunting of the river is as much about memory and loss as it is about fear, a reminder that some stories linger in the places where they occurred. Even today, the waters of the Tombigbee continue to flow steadily through eastern Mississippi, carrying barges, wildlife, and the echoes of history along its course. Yet on quiet, mist-filled nights, locals and travelers alike report seeing the faint glow of a steamboat drifting through the fog, flames flickering against the dark sky, and hearing the ghostly sounds of the disaster. The Eliza battle, lost to fire and water, continues to haunt the river that claimed her, a spectral reminder of a tragedy that shaped the memories of the communities along the Tombigbee and became part of the river's enduring legend. The Tombigbee River remains a place of beauty and danger, life and memory, where the past flows alongside the present. The ghostly image of the Eliza battle, glowing with phantom fire, serves as a haunting reminder that rivers are not only waterways, they are keepers of stories, witnesses to human triumph and sorrow, and vessels for the echoes of history that refuse to be forgotten. The Amite River, winding quietly through the lowlands of Mississippi and Louisiana, has long been a place of natural beauty. its banks lined with cypress trees and the occasional wooden pier jutting into the calm waters. By day, it is serene, reflecting the blue sky and the green canopy above, with fishermen casting lines and herons gliding along the surface. But when night falls, particularly on misty evenings, the river takes on a different character, one steeped in sorrow and mystery. Locals speak in hushed tones of the White Lady, a spectral figure said to wander the riverbanks, mourning a love lost to the waters long ago. The legend of the White Lady traces back generations, though its origins are difficult to pinpoint. According to the most widely told version, the woman was once a resident of a small town along the Yamite River. She had fallen deeply in love with a young man who frequently fished and traveled along the river. Their love was said to be passionate, yet fragile, threatened by the dangers of river life and the hardships of the era. One fateful evening, as the young man attempted to cross a treacherous bend in the river or navigate its currents in a small boat, he was caught by a sudden storm. His boat capsized, and despite frantic searches, his body was never recovered. Overcome with grief, the woman wandered the riverbanks, calling his name and searching the waters for any sign of him. She wore a white gown, the color of innocence and mourning, which became her signature appearance in the accounts that followed. Some stories suggest that she never ceased searching, walking along the river night after night, hoping to reunite with her lost love, even if only in spirit. Eventually, she disappeared from the mortal world, but according to local lore, her sorrow was so powerful that it anchored her spirit to the Yamite River forever. Those who live near the river or travel its banks after dark often report strange and unsettling experiences. On foggy nights, a white figure can sometimes be seen standing near the water's edge, her gown glowing faintly in the moonlight. Witnesses say she moves slowly, almost gliding, her gaze fixed upon the flowing water, as if trying to pierce its depths in search of someone. Some describe hearing soft, sobbing, or whispers carried on the wind that seem to come from nowhere, yet feel intensely personal, as though the river itself has absorbed her grief and shares it with those who are sensitive enough to notice. One account comes from a man who frequently fished the river at dawn. He recalled a morning when the mist hung low over the water, thick and rolling across the banks. He saw a figure in white, standing motionless near an old pier. At first he thought it was a passerby waiting for someone, but as he drew closer, the figure seemed to drift above the ground, moving without touching it. He described feeling an overwhelming sense of sadness emanating from the apparition, so heavy it made him pause and stare, unsure whether to speak or flee. When he blinked, the figure had vanished, leaving only the soft ripple of the river and the lingering echo of grief. Sightings of the White Lady are not limited to fishermen. Drivers passing over small bridges along the Yamite often report seeing a pale figure along the banks, illuminated briefly by headlights before vanishing into the night. Some travelers claim she appears to them during misty evenings in the woods near the river, hovering silently among the cypress trees, her hands clasped as if in prayer or despair. Others recount feeling a cold gust of wind or a sudden drop in temperature near the water, even on warm summer nights, as though the spirit's presence reaches beyond sight to touch the living. The legend of the White Lady has persisted for decades, woven into the culture of the river and its surrounding communities. Parents warn children to stay close to the paths and piers at night, while local storytellers recount the tale of the grieving woman, emphasizing both the tragedy of her loss and the enduring power of love. The river itself becomes part of the story, its misty nights and reflective waters amplifying the sense of melancholy and mystery. For many, the Yamite is no longer just a river. It is a vessel of memory and emotion, carrying the story of love, loss, and longing through time. Skeptics suggest that the sightings are the result of natural phenomena, the mist over the river, reflections of moonlight on water, or optical illusions created by shadows and tree branches. Others argue that the human mind, aware of the story and expecting an apparition, is prone to create images where none exists. Yet, the number of consistent reports, shared independently by locals and travelers alike, lends weight to the legend. The White Lady's presence is often described in similar terms. A woman in white, gliding or standing silently near the water, her expression sorrowful and searching, her gaze fixed upon the river as though she cannot turn away. The Amite River continues to flow steadily through Mississippi and Louisiana, its waters calm by day and mysterious by night. It carries boats, wildlife, and human traffic, but it also carries memory, legend, and the lingering sorrow of a love lost. Those who venture to its banks on misty evenings may feel the weight of that sorrow, the intangible presence of the White Lady, and the sense that some stories, particularly those tied to strong emotions, do not fade with time. The legend of the White Lady is more than just a ghost story. It is a reflection of the human experience. Her grief, tied so closely to the river, serves as a reminder of love and loss, and the ways in which memory and emotion can linger long after a person is gone. For the Amite River, the story ensures that the riverbanks are never just scenery. They are the stage for a haunting testament to devotion and sorrow. On certain nights, when the mist rolls low and the river reflects the silver light of the moon, one may catch a glimpse of her gown, see her standing silently, or feel the whisper of her longing carried on the wind. The White Lady remains, searching forever for the love she lost, a spectral presence forever bound to the flowing waters of the Amite River. The Bogue Chitto River, winding its way through the dense forests and lowlands of southern Mississippi, is a river of both natural beauty and unsettling mystery. By day, its waters ripple gently under the sun, reflecting the green canopy of pine and oak that stretches along its banks. Herons and kingfishers glide over the surface, while fish and turtles slip silently beneath. But when night falls, and the thick fog rolls in from the surrounding wetlands, the river transforms. Locals speak of strange sounds, cold gusts of wind, and the presence of something far darker. The legendary water witch who haunts the Bogue Chitto, according to the tale. The water witch is a spectral woman bound to the river by grief and rage. Some versions suggest she was a woman wronged in life, perhaps betrayed by a lover or abandoned by those she trusted. Others claim she was accused of witchcraft and executed by fearful townsfolk, thrown into the river in punishment. Whatever the origin, her spirit is said to linger along the river, emerging from the fog to lure travelers toward the water with her otherworldly cries or whispered promises. Those who venture too close to the riverbanks on foggy nights risk being drawn into the current, never to return. The legends warn that the water witch's presence is subtle yet unnerving. Locals describe hearing soft whispers that seem to come from nowhere, voices carried on the wind that beckon, question, or tempt. Sometimes, travelers report seeing a pale figure standing just at the edge of the fog, her hair long and wet, her eyes dark and unyielding. She does not always move, but her gaze is said to follow, compelling those who look upon her to step closer, as if the river itself is reaching out. The whispers are the most insidious parts, sometimes sounding like a name, other times a promise of something impossible yet irresistible, drawing people into danger without their conscious awareness. One account comes from a hunter who frequently traversed the riverbank during late summer evenings. As he followed a narrow path through the forest toward a fishing spot, a thick fog rolled in faster than he expected, obscuring the trail and making the trees appear like dark specters. From the fog, he heard a soft, melodic voice calling his name. At first, he thought it was a companion or someone lost in the woods, but when he shone his flashlight, the figure of a woman appeared at the water's edge, her white gown shimmering in the faint moonlight. She stood silently, her head tilted, as if listening to something far away. The hunter felt an unnatural chill sweep through him, a cold that seemed to reach into his very bones. When he took a step back, the figure vanished into the mist, leaving only the sound of water lapping against the shore and the echo of her whispers in his mind. Other travelers describe similar encounters. Drivers crossing bridges over the Bogue Chitto report seeing a pale figure standing in the road or along the banks, only to vanish when approached. Campers near the river claim that their fires will suddenly die, replaced by an unnatural wind carrying faint voices. Dogs and other animals often react to the presence as well, barking at empty spaces or refusing to approach the river's edge. In every account, The river itself seems to amplify the water witch's power. Her presence tied not only to the fog but to the dark waters that conceal hidden depths and unseen dangers. The river's geography adds to the legend's potency. The Bogue Chitto winds through marshy lowlands and dense thickets, creating areas where fog can linger for hours and shadows seem to shift with a life of their own. Fallen logs, hidden sandbars, and strong currents make the river treacherous even in daylight. But at night, the combination of natural danger and the spectral legend is enough to keep locals and travelers alike wary. The whispers and chilling sensation reported by witnesses suggest that the water, which has not just haunted the river, but claimed it as her domain, a place where curiosity or carelessness can be fatal. Many versions of the legend emphasize caution and respect. Local storytellers warn children and visitors not to stray too close to the water after dark, not only for their safety, but out of respect for a spirit that may be mourning, angry, or trapped in the river for reasons beyond human understanding. Campfire tales describe the water, which as both beautiful and terrifying, a figure whose allure masks the danger beneath the surface. Her story serves as a reminder that the Bogue Chitto is more than a river. It is a living entity with secrets and a history that stretches beyond the comprehension of those who encounter it. Skeptics argue that the sightings and experiences are products of imagination. The natural effects of fog and shadows, or the power of suggestion, reinforced by local folklore. It is true that the river's thick forests, low-lying banks, and misty conditions can create illusions, and the mind can easily interpret shapes and sounds in a way that aligns with expectation. Yet, the consistency of the accounts, reported over decades by people who have had no prior connection, suggests something more mysterious. The reports share details: the whispering voice, the pale figure at the water's edge, the chill in the air that cannot be easily explained by coincidence alone. The Bogue Chitto River continues its slow journey through southern Mississippi, carrying with it fish, wildlife, and the memories of those who have lived along its banks. But the legend of the water, which ensures that it carries something else as well. The lingering presence of a spirit tied to the river. A reminder that some places hold more than natural beauty. Those who venture near the river at night may feel the chill, hear the whispers, or glimpse a pale figure moving silently through the fog. It is a haunting, cautionary presence, reminding all who encounter it that curiosity can be dangerous, that the river remembers, and that some legends are rooted in truths that are as deep and hidden as the waters themselves. The Bogue Chitto River, serene in daylight and shrouded in mystery at night, remains a place of life and legend. For those who approach with respect, it offers beauty, tranquility, and the chance to witness the natural splendor of Mississippi's waterways. But for those who venture too close to the water after dark, particularly on foggy nights, the whispers of the water which linger, the chill in the air grows sharper, and the shadowy figure at the river's edge serves as a spectral warning. The Bogue Chitto is a river that remembers, and some spirits do not rest. The Pearl River, flowing quietly through the Jackson area of Mississippi, has long been a lifeline for the region, its waters carrying commerce, wildlife, and the whispers of history. By day, the river is serene, reflecting the sky and the lush greenery along its banks. But beneath its calm surface and along its quiet shores lies a history shadowed by tragedy. Near its course stood the old Jackson Insane Asylum, a place where countless souls lived, suffered, and, in many cases, died under circumstances that were often grim and misunderstood. Today, the riverbanks carry more than a gentle ripple of water. They carry the lingering presence of those who never truly left. The Jackson Insane Asylum, constructed in the 19th century, was part of a nationwide wave of mental health institutions intended to care for patients with severe mental illnesses. While the original intent may have been compassionate, the reality was often harsh. Overcrowding, limited resources, and primitive treatments made the asylum a place of suffering for many. Patients endured long hours in bleak rooms, harsh therapies, and sometimes neglect, and countless individuals died within the walls of the institution. Records indicate that many bodies were buried nearby, and some may have even been interred along the riverbanks. Locals claim that the spirits of these patients did not find peace in death. The Pearl River, flowing near the asylum, is said to carry their presence, and visitors have reported eerie experiences along its banks. Some describe hearing mournful cries and anguished wails, seemingly carried on the river's currents, especially during foggy evenings or late at night. The sounds are not constant. They appear suddenly, echoing across the water and disappearing as mysteriously as they arrive. Those who hear them often describe a profound sense of sorrow, a heaviness that presses on the chest and lingers even after they leave the river. Sightings of ghostly figures are also common. Some witnesses describe pale, indistinct shapes moving along the riverbanks, sometimes standing near the water as though watching the current. Others report seeing fleeting glimpses of individuals in outdated clothing, their forms transparent and wavering, vanishing when approached. In certain accounts, these figures seem to be reaching out or wandering aimlessly, as if searching for something or someone they lost in life. The river itself is said to act as a conduit, amplifying the emotional energy of these restless spirits and projecting it into the surrounding environment. One particularly chilling account comes from a man who frequently fished along the Pearl River at night. He recalled casting his line in the quiet of early summer, when a thick fog had settled over the water. As he paused to admire the stillness, he heard faint whispering, voices so soft he almost thought he imagined them. The whispers grew clearer, forming fragmented words of despair, calling names that he did not recognize. When he turned to look toward the riverbank, he saw a group of shadowy figures, their outlines barely distinguishable through the mist, moving slowly along the shore. The man described an overwhelming sense of grief emanating from them, a sorrow that felt ancient and inescapable. Moments later, they vanished, leaving him alone with the river and the lingering echo of their cries. Others report similar experiences, describing sudden chills, unexplained cold spots, and the sensation of being watched while walking along the river at night. Dogs often react unpredictably, growling at empty spaces or refusing to approach the water. Campers and hikers near the river speak of hearing footsteps behind them, only to find nothing when they turn. Even the sound of the river itself seems to carry an eerie undertone on certain nights. The ripple of water, accompanied by faint murmurs and sobbing that cannot be attributed to natural causes. The story of the Jackson Insane Asylum and its connection to the Pearl River has become a cautionary tale, as well as a part of local lore. Residents warn visitors to treat the river with respect, particularly at night. Some suggest that those who hear the cries or see the figures should offer a silent prayer or a moment of acknowledgement, as though recognition can ease the suffering of those bound to the river. The legend emphasizes that the spirits are not malicious. They are restless, sorrowful, and trapped by the memory of their suffering, seeking the acknowledgement that they were denied in life. Skeptics often point to natural explanations for the experiences along the Pearl River. Fog, mist, and the movement of water can create illusions. Sounds may carry differently over the river, creating echoes that mimic voices. Shadows cast by trees and brush may appear to take human forms, and the mind, primed by stories of hauntings, can interpret ordinary sights and sounds as supernatural. Yet the consistency of the accounts over decades, reported independently by residents, fishermen, and hikers, suggests that there is more to the river than simple natural phenomena. The combination of misty nights, quiet waters, and the tragic history of the asylum creates an environment where the line between the living and the dead seems to blur. The Pearl River continues its journey through Jackson and beyond, carrying boats, wildlife, and the daily life of the communities along its banks. But it also carries memory and sorrow. For those who approach its waters at night, the river is not merely a landscape, it's a witness. The cries of the forgotten patients, the shadowy figures moving through the mist, and the cold, inexplicable chills serve as reminders of a history that cannot be ignored. The presence along the riverbanks is a haunting yet poignant reflection of human suffering. It underscores the fragility of life, the cruelty of neglect, and the enduring impact of those who pass too soon without dignity or peace. Visitors often leave the Pearl River with a sense of awe, respect, and a lingering awareness that some places are not merely shaped by geography. They are shaped by memory and the spirits of those who linger caught between the world of the living and the world beyond. Tonight, as the water glides quietly past the Jackson area, the Pearl River continues to hold the voices of its past, the mournful cries, the shadows wandering the foggy banks, and the restless spirits of the asylum patients remain a part of its currents. For those willing to listen, the river tells a story of grief, endurance, and remembrance, a story carried on the flowing waters, whispering across time and ensuring that the lost are never truly forgotten. The Yazoo River, winding its way through the Mississippi Delta, is a river of both beauty and history. Its waters, calm and reflective, flow past fields of cotton, small towns, and dense forests, carrying the echoes of centuries past. Yet beneath its serene surface, the river is said to hold memories of tragedy, loss, and lingering spirits. Among the most enduring tales associated with the Yazoo is that of the Yazoo Queen, a ghostly riverboat, and the woman who haunts its waters, a tragic figure whose story has been whispered along the riverbanks for generations. The legend begins in the 19th century, when riverboats were the lifeblood of the Mississippi Delta. The Yazoo Queen was a magnificent vessel for its time, elegant and strong, ferrying passengers and cargo along the river. Among its regular travelers was a young woman, known for her beauty and grace, who frequently rode the Yazoo Queen to visit family or accompany her beloved, a young man whose life was tied closely to the river. Their love, like the river itself, was deep and flowing, but fragile, and it became the heart of a story that would be told long after their time. One fateful night, the Yazoo Queen encountered treacherous conditions along the river. Strong currents and sudden storms were common hazards in those days, and the vessel, laden with passengers, could not withstand the force of the river. In a tragic twist, the boat capsized near a bend where the river widened into a quiet, fog-shrouded expanse. The young woman's beloved perished in the flood, swept away by the currents and claimed by the Yazoo. Accounts suggest that she herself may have been among the casualties, though the specifics remain unclear. What is remembered most is her profound grief, a sorrow so intense that, according to legend, it anchored her spirit to the river forever. Those who live near the Yazoo River claim that the woman's spirit still appears, often near the site of the Yazoo Queen's sinking. She is described as wearing a long white gown, glowing faintly in the moonlight, her hair drifting in the wind. She moves slowly along the banks, or sometimes across the water, searching with a desperation that seems endless. Witnesses often report feeling a sudden chill when she appears, an unnatural cold that contrasts sharply with the warm Delta nights. The air around her carries the scent of river water and something indefinably old, as if the current itself remembers the tragedy. Many who have encountered the Yazoo Queen's ghost speak of a sense of longing and sorrow. Travelers crossing the river near the site of the sinking have described seeing her figure standing at the water's edge, gazing into the current as though expecting her lost love to return. Some say she reaches out toward the water, her fingers trembling, her movements slow and deliberate, as if time itself has no meaning for her. Others report hearing soft cries or a faint voice carried on the wind, calling a name that is lost to history but felt deeply by those who hear it. The experience is never violent, but it is profoundly unsettling, leaving witnesses with an impression of grief and loss that lingers long after the vision has faded. One particularly chilling account comes from a fisherman who frequented the Yazoo River late at night. As he floated silently near the old river bend, thick mist rolling across the water, he saw a figure in white emerging from the fog. Her gown shimmered with an otherworldly light, and she appeared to drift above the riverbank rather than walk upon it. He described a sudden, intense cold that enveloped him, and he felt as if he were being watched by unseen eyes. The figure lifted her head, gazing toward the current, and the fisherman thought he saw tears glistening in her spectral eyes. Moments later, she vanished, leaving only the ripple of water and the echo of sorrow in his mind. The Yazoo Queen's haunting is not limited to visual sightings. Some residents report hearing the creak of a riverboat, the splash of water against a hole, or the faint sounds of laughter and conversation drifting across the river late at night. These sounds are said to coincide with sightings of the ghostly woman, creating a sensory experience that blurs the line between memory and reality. Others have described hearing her voice, soft and mournful, whispering names or pleas, often during foggy nights when the river is still and silent. Skeptics argue that these sightings are illusions caused by mist, reflections of moonlight on the water, or the mind's tendency to create patterns in the dark. Fog, shadows, and the sounds of the river can combine to form eerie shapes and noises. And the story of the Yazoo Queen made prime observers to interpret these phenomena as supernatural. Yet, the consistency of reports across decades, from independent witnesses with no prior knowledge of the tale, has made the legend endure, tying it inextricably to the river itself. For the communities along the Yazoo River, the story of the White Lady and the Yazoo Queen is both a warning and a tribute. Children are told to respect the river, particularly at night, and travelers are advised to be cautious near the bend where the boat sank. Some say that acknowledging her presence with a silent thought or prayer can ease her suffering, if only slightly. The river, flowing endlessly through the delta, becomes a vessel for memory, carrying both the beauty of its waters and the sorrow of a love that ended too soon. The Yazoo River continues to flow through Mississippi.com by day and mysterious by night, reflecting the sky above and the forests along its banks. It carries boats, wildlife, and human activity, but also the echoes of history and the lingering presence of the Yazoo Queen. Those who venture near the river on foggy nights may see the ghostly figure in white, feel the chill of her sorrow, or hear her cries across the water. She remains a reminder that some loves are eternal, some griefs are unending, and some stories, tied to the currents of the river, never fade. Even today, the Yazoo River holds her memory, flowing past towns and fields, silently witnessing the past. Her spectral presence ensures that the tragedy of the Yazoo Queen is not forgotten, that the river remembers, and that the story of love, loss, and longing continues to ripple across the waters, carried endlessly by the currents she haunts. The Chickasaw River, winding through the dense forests of southeastern Mississippi, has long been a river of mystery and caution. By day, its waters flow steadily, reflecting the surrounding cypress and pine trees, and providing life to fish, birds, and small communities along its banks. But beneath the surface, the river is deep, dark, and enigmatic. For generations, locals have told stories of something sinister lurking in its depths. A creature known as the Chickasaw Devil, a being said to drag unsuspecting swimmers beneath the surface and vanish without a trace. The origins of the Chickasaw Devil are shrouded in legend. Some say it is a remnant of ancient folklore passed down by the Chickasaw people, who inhabited the region long before European settlers arrived. The creature was said to be a guardian of the river, but one that demanded respect. Those who approached the waters carelessly or with ill intent were never seen again. Others claim it was born from tragedia, monstrous form created by the river itself, shaped from the fears and grief of those who lost loved ones to its treacherous currents. Regardless of its origin, the legend has persisted, growing in detail and terror over the decades. The Chickasaw Devil is described differently depending on the source. Some witnesses speak of a massive, shadowy figure beneath the water, its shape indistinct yet undeniably alive, moving with unnatural speed. Others describe glowing eyes that appear just above the surface at night, staring unblinking at anyone nearby. Some tales even suggest that the creature can sense fear, drawn to swimmers or boaters who venture too close without caution. Its attacks are swift and silent. A hand, a fin, or a force beneath the water that pulls its victims down, leaving only disturbed ripples and the echo of their screams. One chilling account comes from a group of college students who camped along the river one summer. They had been swimming in a calm bend, laughing and splashing as the sun dipped below the horizon. One of them, a young man wading a little farther than the others, suddenly felt a strong tug at his ankle. He tried to pull away, but the force beneath the water was relentless. His friends screamed and splashed, trying to reach him, but the river had already swallowed him. When they finally pulled him free, he was unharmed physically, but his face was pale and haunted, and he swore he saw a massive, shadowy figure retreat beneath the water before the currents returned to normal. Other encounters are less dramatic, but equally unsettling. Fishermen working late at night along the Chickasaw River often report seeing unnatural movements beneath the surface ripples that suggest something far larger than any fish, or shapes that dart just out of reach of lantern light. Sometimes, their nets come up torn or snagged on nothing visible. Hikers and campers along the banks speak of sudden cold spots, eerie silences, or the feeling of being watched, even when they are alone. The tales are consistent enough that locals advise caution. Do not swim alone, do not approach the river at night, and always respect the Chickasaway's hidden dangers. The geography of the river amplifies the sense of unease. Its deep channels are dark and often opaque, concealing logs, sandbars, and unexpected currents. Certain stretches are shaded by thick canopies of trees, and fog frequently settles over the water in the mornings and evenings, giving the river an otherworldly appearance. These natural features make it easy to imagine or perhaps believe that a hidden predator waits just beneath the surface. A silent guardian or hunter shaped by both nature and legend. Skeptics argue that the Chickasaw Devil is simply a product of imagination, an exaggeration born of cautionary tales. They point to the river's natural hazard, swift currents, sudden drop-offs, and hidden logs that have caused drownings and near misses over the years. Fog and shadows can create illusions, while the mind, primed by stories, interprets ordinary movements in the water as something supernatural. Yet even among skeptics, few deny the chilling consistency of the accounts. The stories are not limited to one era or group. They span generations, shared independently by locals, travelers, and anyone who has ventured near the Chickasaw River after dark. Some versions of the legend suggest that the creature is not merely malevolent, but a force demanding respect. It is drawn to those who are careless, those who fail to honor the power of the river, or those who seek to exploit it. In this sense, the Chickasaw Devil serves as a warning. The river is not merely a body of water to be taken for granted. It is alive, unpredictable, and capable of defending itself in ways humans cannot always comprehend. Encounters with the creature, whether witnessed directly or inferred through strange disturbances, are reminders of the river's authority and mystery. The Chickasaw River continues to flow through southeastern Mississippi, carrying life and history in its currents. Fishermen, hikers, and boaters all use the river for recreation and livelihood. Yet they do so with an unspoken awareness of the stories that linger along the banks and beneath the waves. On misty nights, when the water reflects the silver light of the moon, and the fog rolls in thick from the surrounding forests, the legend of the Chickasaw Devil feels especially tangible. Shadows appear where none should be, ripples move without explanation, and the air carries an unshakable chill, as though the river itself is watching. For those who respect the river, the tales are cautionary and awe-inspiring. For the daring or the careless, they are a warning of what lies beneath. The Chickasaw Devil is more than folklore. It is a symbol of the river's hidden depths and the danger inherent in its darkness. It reminds all who approach that some waters are best treated with reverence, that not everything lurking below is visible, and that the Chickasaw River holds secrets far older and darker than any living soul. The river flows endlessly, calm and inviting by day, mysterious and foreboding by night. Beneath its surface, the Chickasaw Devil waits or perhaps watches silent, unseen, and eternal. For those who venture too close, especially after night falls and fog blankets the banks, the creature serves as a chilling reminder. The Chickasaw is not just a river. It is a place of history, mystery, and power, and some legends are rooted in truths too deep and dark to ignore. The Leaf River, meandering through the dense forests and wetlands of southern Mississippi, carries with it both natural beauty and a long history of whispered tales. Its calm, reflective waters wind past cypress groves, overgrown banks, and quiet towns, creating a landscape that is serene by day, but transforms into something far more mysterious as dusk settles. Among the many stories tied to the river, one of the most enduring is that of the river beast, a serpentine creature said to dwell in the deep, dark waters, surfacing only to remind the world of its presence. Though sightings are rare and evidence is elusive, the legend persists, capturing the imagination of locals and visitors alike. The origins of the river beast are unclear, but the legend is thought to be centuries old, possibly predating European settlement in the region. Some believe the creature was first glimpsed by Native American tribes, who spoke of a massive river spirit capable of moving unseen beneath the water's surface. Others suggest it appeared later, a creation of early settlers' imaginations fueled by the unexplained currents and shadows in the Leaf River's depths. According to most accounts, the river beast is enormous, described as serpentine, with a long, sinuous body that can stretch dozens of feet, and eyes that gleam like amber in the night. Witnesses describe scales that shimmer in the moonlight, a head rising from the water with a snake-like grace, and a presence so commanding that the river itself seems to react to it. Encounters with the river beast are rare, but the stories that survive are unforgettable. One account comes from a fisherman who had been navigating the river near a bend surrounded by dense cypress trees. He recalled the night vividly. The fog hung low over the water, the surface calm, except for the occasional ripple. Suddenly, a massive shadow broke the surface, arching gracefully before vanishing again beneath the currents. The fisherman described an overwhelming sense of awe and fear, as if the river had itself revealed a secret it had guarded for generations. When he told his friends, they dismissed the story as imagination or poor lighting, but he insisted that what he saw defied natural explanation. Other witnesses described similar experiences. Campers and hikers along the Leaf River report hearing strange splashes or feeling unusual vibrations in the water at night. Some have glimpsed a long, dark shape moving beneath the river's surface, sometimes accompanied by sudden, unexplained waves that rock small boats. In certain stories, the river beast is said to circle intruders before disappearing into the depths. Its presence a silent warning rather than a direct threat. The creature seems to be aware of those around it, intelligent and deliberate in its movements, as if it exists not merely as a beast but as a guardian of the river itself. One local legend tells of a group of teenagers who decided to camp along the river late one summer. As the evening fog rolled in, they swam in a shallow bend near the bank. Laughter and splashing soon gave way to uneasy silence, as one of them noticed a ripple that didn't correspond to their movements. The water erupted suddenly, forming a long, sinuous shape that twisted in the moonlight. The teens scrambled to shore, hearts pounding, as the river beast circled once and vanished as quickly as it had appeared. They returned home shaken, convinced that the stories passed down through generations were not mere myth, but warnings rooted in truth. The geography of the Leaf River contributes to the legend's potency. Its depths are uneven, with hidden channels, submerged logs, and murky water that conceals almost anything beneath the surface. Fog frequently blankets the river, especially during summer mornings and evenings, creating conditions that distort shapes and sounds. In combination with the river's quiet, reflective surface and the isolated nature of many stretches, it is easy to see why stories of a lurking serpent would take hold. Still, the consistency of eyewitness accounts suggests that the river beast occupies more than just the imagination. It inhabits a place that feels alive with hidden currents and shadows. Skeptics point to natural explanations for the river beast, including large fish, floating logs, or optical illusions caused by ripples and fog. The river itself, with its bends and depth changes, can create visual distortions, while shadows cast by overhanging branches or the reflection of moonlight on water can be mistaken for movement beneath the surface. Yet even those who look for rational explanations often acknowledge an unsettling quality to the river at night, a sense that something watches from the depths, moving with intent and disappearing before it can be fully understood. The legend of the river beast serves not only as a story of fear, but also as a reminder of respect for the Leaf River. It warns travelers, fishermen, and campers to exercise caution, particularly at night, and to treat the river as a living entity capable of surprises beyond human understanding. For locals, the creature is both a source of pride and cautioner, mysterious guardian that connects them to the history and natural power of the river. Children are told the stories as lessons in respect, while adults speak of the encounters in hushed tones, passing them down through generations to keep the memory alive. Today, the Leaf River continues to flow through southern Mississippi, carrying boats, wildlife, and the daily rhythms of the communities along its banks. Its waters are calm by day, inviting for fishing and recreation, yet on misty nights, it transforms into a place of suspense and mystery. Those who venture near the river after dark, especially in isolated stretches, may catch glimpses of long, undulating shadows, hear ripples that have no visible cause, or feel the subtle vibration of something moving beneath the surface. These experiences, whether real or imagined, perpetuate the legend of the river beast, ensuring that the story endures alongside the flowing waters. The Leaf River is more than a river. It is a living corridor of history, folklore, and natural beauty. The legend of the river beast, passed down through generations, reminds all who approach its waters that some mysteries run as deep as the river itself. On quiet nights, when fog rolls across the surface and the water reflects the pale light of the moon, one might sense that the river is not empty, that something watches and waits beneath its depths, a silent, serpentine guardian whose story continues to ripple through time, just like the currents of the Leaf River itself. The Big Black River, flowing through the heart of central Mississippi, is a river both revered and feared. Its wide, dark waters stretch across the landscape, carrying centuries of history, commerce, and, for some, tragedy. By day, it appears calm and serene, reflecting the sky and the trees along its banks. Fishermen cast lines from wooden piers, and small boats drift along its surface. But beneath this seemingly peaceful exterior, the river hides currents and depths that have claimed countless lives over the years. For locals, the Big Black River is more than a body of water. It is a place imbued with stories of restless spirits, mysterious drownings, and the haunting power of nature itself. Over the decades, the Big Black River has witnessed innumerable drownings, some tragic accidents, others more mysterious in nature. Families have lost loved ones to sudden currents, hidden sandbars, or submerged logs that lurk beneath the river's dark surface. While some attribute these deaths to natural hazards, the river's unpredictable flow, the deceptive calm of deep pools, and the sudden drop-offs, others believe a more supernatural explanation exists. According to local legend, the river itself is restless, haunted by the spirits of those who perished within its waters. These spirits, unable to find peace, are said to reach out, claiming new souls to join them in the depths. The stories of the river's spirits are numerous. Witnesses report seeing figures standing on the banks at night, pale and indistinct, their eyes reflecting sorrow or anger. Others speak of sudden chills or goosebumps along the skin when approaching the water after dark, as if unseen presences are brushing past or observing from beneath the surface. Some boaters have heard unexplained splashes in the distance, ripples forming as if something massive moved just below the waterline. There are even accounts of voices, soft cries, pleas, or whispers carried across the river on foggy evenings. Voices that vanish when approached, leaving only the echo of despair behind. One story comes from a man who grew up near the river. He recalled an evening in late summer when he was fishing alone on a quiet bend. The sun had set, leaving only the faint glow of twilight. Suddenly, he felt the boat lurch violently, as if struck by something under the water. The water rippled unnaturally around him, yet he could see nothing. Moments later, a chill swept through the air, and he heard a faint voice calling his name. Heart pounding, he paddled to shore, glancing back only to see ripples spreading across the river, as if something had submerged. He swore he had felt the presence of someone or something beneath the water, watching, waiting. Other encounters are less personal but equally unnerving. Families camping near the river sometimes report hearing splashes or cries during the night, even when no one is swimming. Hikers along the banks describe sudden drops in temperature or the sensation of being followed, though no one is in sight. Fishermen have found nets or lines shredded without explanation, as if a massive force beneath the river had struck. These experiences, repeated over decades, have reinforced the idea that the Big Black River carries more than water. It carries memories, grief, and perhaps the spirits of those who never left. The geography of the river only adds to its danger and mystique. The Big Black River is deceptively wide in some places and narrow in others, with deep channels that can swallow even experienced swimmers. Submerged logs, sudden currents, and hidden sandbars make navigation treacherous. During periods of heavy rain, the river swells, and currents grow faster and more unpredictable. Fog often settles over the water, obscuring vision and giving the river a surreal, almost otherworldly appearance. In these conditions, it is easy to see how the legend of restless spirits claiming new victims took hold. Skeptics argue that the drownings and strange occurrences along the Big Black River are entirely explainable by natural hazards. The river's currents, sudden depth changes, and hidden obstacles are well documented. Fatigue, panic, and poor judgment can easily lead to accidents, and fog or darkness can create optical illusions. Even so, the consistency of reports across generations cannot be ignored. Locals describe similar sensations: chills, strange voices, sudden ripples, and shadowy figures near the water. For many, these experiences suggest that there is more to the river than simple physical danger. Some versions of the legend suggest that the spirits of the river are not malicious in intent but restless and mournful. They are souls trapped between worlds, unable to move on, and the occasional accident is interpreted as the river reaching out not with malevolence but with longing. Others claim the spirits are vengeful, punishing the living for their failure to respect the river. Regardless of the interpretation, the story of the Big Black River serves as both a cautionary tale and a reflection of human fascination with the unknown. The Big Black River continues to flow through central Mississippi, carrying commerce, wildlife, and daily life along its banks. Yet, beneath the surface, it holds the weight of history, tragedy, and legend. Travelers, fishermen, and locals alike respect the river for its beauty and its danger, knowing that its waters are unpredictable and, according to lore, haunted. At night, particularly on foggy or moonlit evenings, the river takes on a different character. The water glows faintly in the dim light, and shadows along the banks seem to shift and move, lending credibility to the stories of restless spirits waiting just beneath the surface. For those who live near it, the Big Black River is a reminder of nature's power and the mysteries that linger in the world. The combination of deep water, hidden hazards, and the tragic history of drownings has made the river a focal point for both caution and curiosity. Children are warned not to swim alone, boaters approach with care, and hikers stick to well-known paths. The river's legend, intertwined with fact, ensures that every splash, ripple, and shadow is met with both respect and a measure of fear. The Big Black River is more than just a river. It is a repository of stories, tragedies, and the unknown. Its dark waters conceal hazards both natural and supernatural, and its currents carry the whispers of the past. Those who approach its banks at night may feel chills, see shadows, or hear cries that have no discernible source. Whether these are the acts of restless spirits or the accidents of nature, the effect is the same. The Big Black River demands attention, caution, and respect. It is a place where the line between history and legend, life and death, seems to blur. A river whose depths hold both the seen and the unseen, and whose currents will forever carry the echoes of those claimed by its waters. Bayou Pier, winding through the dense swamps and lowlands of southwestern Mississippi, is a river of mystery and dark beauty. Its waters are murky and slow-moving, reflecting the thick canopy of cypress, oak, and willow that lines its banks. Moss hangs from the trees like tattered curtains, and fog often rises from the water in the early morning, shrouding the bayou in a ghostly veil. To the casual observer, it is a place of serene, natural beauty, where herons glide above the water and fish leap in quiet arcs. But beneath this calm surface lies a long history of fear, superstition, and tales that have persisted for generations. Among the most chilling of these stories is the legend of the Swamp Witch, a shadowy figure said to haunt the edges of Bayou Pier, her presence both feared and respected by locals. The origins of the swamp, which are lost to time. Some accounts suggest she was a practitioner of ancient magic, living in the bayou long before settlers arrived, communing with the spirits of the swamp and drawing power from its deep waters and dense vegetation. Others claim she was a woman who was wronged or ostracized by her community and turned to dark arts in her grief and anger, retreating into the swamp to escape human judgment. Whatever her origin, her legend has endured, whispered among fishermen, hunters, and those who live along the bayou. Her presence is said to be palpable, an oppressive weight in the air that causes unease even before she is seen. Sightings of the swamp, which are rare, but those who claim to have encountered her describe a figure cloaked in shadow, moving silently among the trees and reeds. Her eyes are said to glow faintly in the darkness, and her form is difficult to discern, as if the fog itself clings to her. Witnesses often report a sudden drop in temperature, a heaviness that presses on the chest, and a feeling of being watched. Those who linger too long near the water after dark sometimes experience strange sensations, dizziness, confusion, or the sense that they are being guided or misled by an unseen presence. The swamp, which is not thought to be violent in all accounts, but her power is undeniable, and those who disrespect the bayou or approach it recklessly are said to face her wrath. One story tells of a young hunter who ventured into the bayou at dusk, hoping to trap game near a secluded bend. As he waded through the shallow water, he felt the air grow unnaturally heavy and the forest around him silent, as though all life had vanished. From the fog, a shadow emerged, tall and indistinct, moving gracefully between the cypress trees. The hunter froze, sensing both menace and intelligence in the figure. The Swamp Witch, it is said, watched him without speaking, her presence suffocating and inescapable. Terrified, the hunter stumbled backward, tripping over roots and mud. But when he looked again, she had vanished, leaving only the oppressive stillness of the bayou and the lingering echo of dread. Other accounts are less personal but equally unsettling. Fishermen have reported their nets being mysteriously torn or overturned, their small boats rocked by unseen hands. Campers near the bayou speak of whispers carried on the wind, soft chants or words in a language they cannot recognize. Travelers describe sudden gusts of cold air, unexplained fog rolling in thicker than normal, or the sensation of something brushing past them as they navigate the overgrown paths along the water's edge. Many locals interpret these events as signs of the swamp, which is asserting her presence, a reminder that the bayou is alive and must be treated with respect. The geography of Bayou Pier contributes to the power of the legend. Its twisting channels and dense vegetation make it easy for shadows and movements to be misinterpreted, while fog can obscure the smallest details, transforming ordinary trees and reeds into something threatening. Submerged logs and thick undergrowth make the bayou treacherous to navigate, especially at night, adding to the sense of danger. Even in daylight, the swamp's isolation and the constant hum of insects and wildlife create an atmosphere ripe for stories of unseen spirits and mysterious forces. Skeptics argue that the swamp, which is nothing more than folklore, a story created to warn children and travelers of the real dangers of the bayou. The murky waters hide deep holes, swift currents, and submerged obstacles that can easily injure or drown the unwary. Fog and shadows distort perception, making ordinary movements appear sinister. Yet even the most rational observers admit that Bayou Pier carries an unusual atmosphere, a sense of watchfulness that is difficult to explain scientifically. The consistency of stories told over generations, combined with the uncanny feeling experienced by those who venture too close at night, has ensured the legend's survival. Some versions of the tale suggest that the swamp, which is not inherently evil, but is instead a guardian of the bayou, punishing those who disrespect its natural order. Those who fish recklessly, litter, or harm the swamp's wildlife are said to face her attention. Others claim that she is driven by loneliness, wandering the bayou in search of companionship or vengeance. Her magical power is a manifestation of her sorrow, whether a vengeful spirit, a guardian, or a being of ancient magic. The Swamp Witch remains an enigmatic figure, one whose story continues to captivate and terrify those who hear it. Today, Bayou Pier remains a place of life and mystery. Herons and turtles still move along the water, while fishermen and hikers enjoy its quiet beauty. Yet, as night falls and fog rolls across the surface, the bayou transforms. The air becomes heavy, the shadows lengthen, and those familiar with the stories feel the weight of the Swamp Witch's gaze. Her presence, whether real or imagined, reminds all who enter that the bayou is more than a river. It is a living, breathing entity, shaped by history, memory, and the legends that cling to its banks. Bayou Pier continues to flow through southwestern Mississippi, a ribbon of dark water snaking through forest and swamp. To those who respect it, it offers beauty, life, and serenity. To those who ignore its warnings or wander too carelessly, it may offer something far more unsettling. The Swamp Witch, cloaked in shadow and mist, remains a part of the bayou, a spectral reminder that some places are alive with forces that cannot be tamed, and that the mysteries of Bayou Pier are as deep and twisting as its waters themselves. Okatoma Creek, winding through the piney hills and forests of southern Mississippi, is known for its calm waters and scenic beauty. By day, it offers a peaceful escape for canoeists, kayakers, and nature enthusiasts. Its gentle current, reflecting the vibrant greenery and dappled sunlight filtering through the trees. Families and adventurers alike float along its twists and turns, enjoying the quietude of the forest and the soft murmur of the water. Yet beneath this serene surface lies a current of mystery, and for decades, visitors have whispered about strange occurrences along the creek. Unexplained splashes, sudden chills, and the unnerving feeling of being watched. These tales have given rise to the legend of a water spirit, an unseen presence that may inhabit Okatoma Creek. The legend of the water spirit is difficult to trace, but local lore suggests it has existed as long as the creek itself. Some claim it originated with the Native American tribes who once inhabited the area. A guardian of the waters meant to warn or punish those who disrespected the creek. Others believe it emerged later. A story born from the experiences of early settlers and travelers who paddled the winding waters at dusk or in the quiet of night. In all versions, the spirit is described as elusive, rarely seen, yet its presence is strongly felt. Paddlers report feeling eyes upon them, a sensation of movement just beneath the water, or sudden splashes that have no discernible cause. One story comes from a group of college students who went kayaking along Okatoma Creek on a late summer evening. The sun had set, leaving the water dimly illuminated by the fading light. As they floated along a narrow bend, one of the students suddenly felt the canoe jerk violently, as though something beneath the water had collided with it. At the same time, the group noticed small splashes rising around them, though the water remained otherwise calm. No fish or animal could account for the disturbances. They exchanged uneasy glances, paddled faster, and eventually reached the safety of the shore. Though they laughed nervously afterward, each admitted that the sensation of being watched lingered long after they left the creek. Other paddlers have reported similar phenomena. Some speak of hearing faint whispers or murmurs carried on the breeze across the water, voices that seem to come from nowhere. Others describe sudden, unnatural ripples that follow their canoe, or the sensation of something brushing against their legs while wading in shallow water. Nighttime appears to amplify these experiences. The creek, shrouded in fog and silence, becomes a place where imagination and reality merge, and the feeling of an unseen presence becomes almost tangible. Locals warn that those who venture too far into the creek alone at night may encounter the water spirit, though whether it is malevolent, curious, or protective remains uncertain. The geography of Okatoma Creek contributes to the legend. Its twists and turns, overhanging trees, and shaded pools create an environment that can easily obscure movement. Fog frequently settles over the water in early morning and late evening, while the dense forest along the banks casts long shadows. making it difficult to judge distance or perceive what moves beneath the surface. Currents and underwater obstacles add to the uncertainty, as sudden changes in depth or hidden logs can jostle a canoe or kayak unexpectedly. Combined with the natural isolation of certain stretches of the creek, these features have made it an ideal setting for tales of a water spirit to flourish. One particularly chilling account comes from an experienced paddler who had been navigating the creek at dusk. As he drifted silently through a narrow section lined with cypress and willow, he noticed ripples forming along the bank, moving toward his kayak. At first, he assumed it was a fish or a fallen branch, but the movement continued steadily and deliberately, matching the pace of his vessel. A cold shiver ran down his spine, and he felt as if unseen eyes were following his every move. He called out, but no reply came. By the time he reached the next bend, the ripples had vanished, and the water returned to its usual calm. Even weeks later, he admitted he could still feel the presence of something watching from the shadows of the creek. Skeptics often attribute these experiences to natural causes. Fish, turtles, and other wildlife, combined with wind and water currents, can produce sounds, ripples, and movements that appear unnatural. Fog and low light conditions can distort perception, making ordinary objects seem larger or closer than they are. Yet the consistency of the accounts over generations suggests that something more mysterious may be at work. Even seasoned paddlers, familiar with the creek's quirks, describe moments where logic fails, when the sensation of being observed becomes impossible to ignore. Some versions of the legend suggest that the water spirit is not hostile but protective, guarding the creek and its wildlife from harm or from those who approach recklessly. Others describe it as a lonely entity, drawn to human presence out of curiosity, manifesting in small disturbances rather than overt danger. Regardless of interpretation, the spirit has become a symbol of the creek's untamed nature, a reminder that even familiar waters can conceal mysteries and command respect. Okatoma Creek continues to flow through southern Mississippi, its waters carrying canoes, kayaks, and the occasional fisherman. By day, it appears gentle and inviting, a haven for recreation and relaxation. But at night, or in the early hours of morning, when fog cloaks the creek and silence falls over the forest, the water seems to transform. Ripples appear where there should be none, shadows flicker along the banks, and the feeling of unseen eyes following you can become overwhelming. The water spirit of Okatoma Creek, whether a guardian, a trickster, or something else entirely, remains a presence that is felt more than seen, an enduring part of the river's mystique. For those who visit the creek, the legend serves both as warning and fascination. It encourages caution, respect for nature, and mindfulness of the unseen forces that may dwell in places that seem familiar and safe. At the same time, it draws adventurers and storytellers, intrigued by the possibility that something beyond human understanding glides silently beneath the surface. The water spirit of Okatoma Creek, whether real or imagined, ensures that the creek is more than a natural feature. It is a place of mystery, wonder, and stories that ripple across the water, inviting each visitor to question what truly lies beneath the calm surface. The Chautauqua River winds gracefully through the Gulf Coast region of Mississippi, its waters reflecting the sky and surrounding trees with a tranquil beauty that draws boaters, anglers, and nature lovers alike. Yet behind the calm flow of its current lies a legend that has haunted the riverbanks for generations. Locals speak in hushed tones of a creature known as the Chowder Beast, a massive amphibious entity said to inhabit the river's murky depths. Though sightings are rare, the whispers of its presence have endured, transforming the serene river into a place of mystery and quiet dread. The origins of the legend are difficult to trace, but some suggest that the tale dates back to early Native American tribes who lived along the riverbanks. They spoke of a guardian spirit, part reptile and part mammal, that protected the waters from those who would exploit them. Over time, the story evolved, taking on darker tones as settlers and travelers began reporting strange disturbances on the water. What had once been described as a spirit of balance and protection became something more ominous and amphibious. Beast lurking beneath the surface. waiting for the unsuspecting. Descriptions of the chowder beast vary, but most accounts describe it as large, serpentine, and slick-skinned, with a body that glistens in the moonlight. Some witnesses claim it has a head resembling a crocodile, with glowing yellow eyes that peer out from the reeds at night. Others insist it resembles an oversized salamander, with webbed limbs capable of propelling it silently through the water. What all the stories agree on, however, is its size far larger than any fish or reptile known to inhabit the Chowder. Fishermen are often the ones who tell of strange experiences on the river. Some recall casting their nets, only to have them torn apart by something far stronger than a fish could manage. Others speak of sudden drops in water temperature, as though an unseen presence moved beneath their boats. A few even claim to have glimpsed the creature's shadow beneath the surface, a dark mass that drifted silently past before disappearing into the depths. The fear that accompanies these stories is palpable, and many seasoned anglers refuse to fish the river after dark. One of the most famous encounters occurred decades ago, when a group of teenagers went swimming near one of the river's bends. As they laughed and splashed, one of them suddenly screamed, claiming something brushed against his leg. Moments later, the water erupted in a violent swirl, sending the group scrambling for the banks. Though no one was injured, they described seeing a long, dark form sliding beneath the water, accompanied by a deep gurgling sound. To this day, locals recall that story whenever someone dares to swim in that part of the river. Kayakers and canoeists have also shared unsettling tales. Some described feeling as though they were being watched, the sensation of unseen eyes following them as they paddled downstream. Others have heard heavy splashes in the distance, as if something massive slipped into the water just out of sight. In the stillness of the river, those sounds become amplified, sending shivers down the spines of even the most experienced paddlers. Despite the fear, many locals have a curious respect for the chowder beast. Some view it as a warning against arrogance, a reminder that the river belongs not to humankind, but to the forces of nature that have shaped it for centuries. Others embrace the story as part of the cultural fabric of the region, a tale that connects generations through shared mystery. For children growing up along the river, stories of the beast are passed down like campfire tales, teaching both wonder and caution in equal measure. Scientists and skeptics, of course, argue that the sightings can be explained by natural causes. The Chowder River is home to large fish, alligators, and even the occasional manatee. And misidentifications are not uncommon in the dim light of dusk or dawn. Yet for those who have seen or felt something beyond explanation, no rational argument can erase the memory of what they encountered. The legend endures because the experiences feel too real, too unsettling to dismiss as mere imagination. On quiet evenings, when the sun sets over the river and the water reflects the fiery colors of the sky, the Chowder appears peaceful, almost sacred. But as darkness falls and the forested banks grow silent, a different mood takes over. The ripples on the water seem more pronounced, shadows linger longer, and every splash echoes with a question. Is the chowder beast stirring below? For many who live along the Gulf Coast, the Chowder River is both a place of beauty and a source of unease. Its waters nurture life, provide recreation, and connect communities. But beneath its surface, the legend of the chowder beast swims on, unseen yet never forgotten. Whether a creature of flesh and blood, or a manifestation of the fears and stories of generations past, it adds a layer of mystery to the river's identity. The Chowder is not just a river, it is a stage where the line between myth and reality blurs, where the beauty of nature intertwines with the chilling possibility that something ancient and powerful still lurks beneath the current. The River, flowing through the rolling hills and forested lowlands of southwestern Mississippi, is a river of quiet beauty and abundant life. Its clear waters reflect the surrounding pines, oaks, and cypress trees, while herons, kingfishers, and other wildlife navigate its banks and shallows. For those seeking fishing, kayaking, or simple immersion in nature, the Homakito offers a serene escape, a place where the rhythm of the river seems to slow time itself. Yet for generations, Locals have whispered about a presence in the river that demands respect, a guardian, a mysterious force that watches over the waters and the forests that surround it. This entity, known as the River Guardian, is said to protect the Humaquito from those who would harm it, ensuring that the natural balance remains intact. The origins of the River Guardian legend are difficult to trace, though some believe it stems from Native American traditions. Long before settlers arrived, tribes that lived along the Humaquito spoke of spirits tied to the river, entities that would punish those who showed disrespect to the land or waters. Others suggest the legend emerged during the 19th century, as settlers and travelers recounted experiences of misfortune along the river, from sudden storms to inexplicable accidents. Over time, these stories coalesced into the notion of a singular guardian, an invisible force that ensures the river is treated with care and reverence. Encounters with the River Guardian are rare, but those who claim to have experienced its presence describe unsettling and often inexplicable events. Boaters report sudden gusts of wind or currents that push against their vessels with unusual force, as if the river itself is steering them. Campers along the banks speak of objects moving inexplicably, fishing lines snapping without reason, tents collapsing in calm weather, or personal items disappearing and reappearing elsewhere. Hikers and fishermen often report an uneasy feeling of being watched, a sensation that grows stronger near the water's edge or in secluded bends where the trees hang thick over the river. These occurrences are generally harmless, but can be disorienting, leaving witnesses with a lingering awareness that something beyond the ordinary inhabits the river. One story comes from a local fisherman who had spent decades navigating the Humaquito. One evening, while paddling near a narrow bend bordered by dense forest, he noticed a sudden stillness in the air. The usual sounds of wildlife, the rustle of leaves, the call of birds, the splash of fish vanished. His boat slowed inexplicably, despite his paddling. Then, without warning, a wave rose and tipped the canoe, spilling him into the water. As he struggled to regain balance, he felt a subtle pressure in the current, guiding him toward the shallows and safety. He later interpreted the incident as the guardian intervening not to harm him, but to remind him that the river must be respected. Other accounts are more eerie. Campers have reported hearing whispers carried across the water, words they cannot understand but that seem to convey warning or reprimand. Hikers have noticed shadows moving along the banks in impossible ways, or ripples appearing in calm waters when no wind or wildlife could explain them. Even experienced river guides, familiar with the Humaquito's patterns and hazards, admit that there are times when the river seems alive in an unusual way, as if unseen eyes are observing and influencing events. These stories have persisted for decades, passed down among locals as both cautionary tales and legends to inspire respect for the river. The geography of the Humaquito River enhances the sense of mystery. Its twists and turns, shallow rapids, and deeper pools create areas where currents behave unpredictably. Overhanging trees and thick underbrush obscure sightlines, while fog can settle along the water in the early morning or evening, transforming familiar paths into a maze of shadows and reflections. Even minor changes in the riverbed, fallen logs, sandbars, or submerged rocks can produce movements that seem unnatural. In such an environment, the idea of a guardian watching and interacting with those who traverse the river is easy to believe. Skeptics argue that the incidents attributed to the river guardian can be explained by natural phenomena. Sudden gusts of wind, shifting currents, and submerged obstacles can easily account for tipped boats or disrupted campsites. Fog and shadows can create illusions, and the human mind is prone to ascribing intent to random events, especially in settings as atmospheric as the Humaquito. Yet even skeptics admit that the stories consistently recur across generations, from fishermen and campers to hunters and hikers, giving the legend a weight that cannot be dismissed. Some versions of the story suggest that the river guardian is not malicious but protective. Those who respect the river, follow safety practices, and care for the surrounding environment are generally untouched. Those who act recklessly, pollute, or ignore the river's natural hazards are more likely to experience misfortune or unsettling events. In this sense, The guardian is a teacher as much as a spirit, ensuring that humans understand the delicate balance of life along the Hamakito and the importance of respect for nature as forces. Today, the Hamakito River remains a beloved destination for recreation and exploration. Kayakers drift along its calm waters, families fish from its banks, and wildlife continues to thrive. Yet the legend of the River Guardian remains alive, a subtle but persistent reminder that the river is more than a physical presence. On misty mornings or quiet evenings, the air over the water can feel charged, the silence heavier, and the sensation of being watched stronger. Ripples can appear without cause, winds can shift without warning, and the river can guide those who venture too far off course. The Hamakito River is more than a body of water. It is a living ecosystem, a place of history, beauty, and mystery. The legend of the River Guardian reinforces the idea that some forces cannot be measured or controlled, that nature has a consciousness and a will of its own. For those who travel its waters or explore its banks, the river offers both serenity and suspense, reminding all who encounter it that respect, caution, and awareness are not just virtues, they are necessary. Whether a product of imagination, ancient spirits, or something beyond understanding, the River Guardian ensures that the Hamakito River is a place where wonder and caution coexist, where beauty and mystery flow together, and where the river's depths hold secrets that continue to inspire awe and respect. The Escatopa River, winding through the swamps, forests, and lowlands of southeastern Mississippi, is a river both beautiful and mysterious. By day, its calm waters reflect the dense foliage and the occasional heron gliding across the surface, while kayakers and fishermen navigate its gentle bends, its banks aligned with moss-draped trees, cypress knees rising from the water like silent sentinels, and shaded coves where the sunlight barely penetrates. Yet, as night falls, the Escatopa transforms. The quiet beauty becomes shrouded in shadow and mist, and the stories of a spectral presence known as the Escatopa Phantom come to life. For generations, locals have whispered about this shadowy figure, a mysterious force said to watch over the river and all who venture near it. The legend of the Escatopa Phantom is thought to date back to the 19th century, though its origins are unclear. Some accounts suggest that the spirit belongs to a riverboat captain who once navigated the Escatopa with skill and pride, known for his knowledge of the river's hidden channels and treacherous bends. The captain was beloved by some and feared by others, as he was uncompromising in his insistence that the river and its resources be respected. When he died under circumstances that remain uncertain, stories began to circulate that his spirit refused to leave the river he had ruled. Witnesses claim that his spectral form now roams the banks, silently observing, ensuring that the river's domain is neither exploited nor disrespected. Those who have encountered the Escatopa Phantom describe a figure shrouded in shadow, tall and thin, with indistinct features that flicker in the moonlight. Some say the figure appears to float rather than walk, moving gracefully along the riverbanks or across small sandbars. Others report glowing eyes or a faint outline resembling a long coat and wide-brimmed hat, suggesting the presence of a captain still clad in the garb of his time. The phantom is rarely aggressive. Instead, it is an observer, a presence that is felt more than seen. Those who come too close often experience an overwhelming sense of being watched, a feeling that cannot be shaken, accompanied by sudden chills or the rustle of unseen footsteps along the river's edge. One notable story comes from a group of friends who were fishing near a bend in the river just after sunset. As the light faded, they noticed a dark figure standing along the opposite bank, partially obscured by cypress trees and mist rising from the water. Initially, they assumed it was a fellow fisherman or a passerby, but as they continued to watch, the figure remained perfectly still, observing them without movement or sound. When they called out, no response came. Minutes later, the figure vanished, leaving only the mist and the quiet gurgle of the river. The friends left shortly after, shaken and silent, each certain that they had encountered the Escatopa Phantom. Other encounters are more subtle but equally unsettling. Boaters and kayakers report ripples in the water that have no apparent source, shadows moving along the banks, or faint, echoing footsteps on paths that should be deserted. Hikers and campers speak of sudden drops in temperature or the sensation of eyes following them as they pass through narrow river corridors. Even longtime residents admit to feeling unease when walking near the river at night, a sense that something watches from the edge of the water, unseen yet present. Over the decades, these consistent reports have reinforced the notion that the Pascagoula River is more than a natural feature. It is a domain under the watch of a persistent, vigilant spirit. The geography of the river amplifies the phantom's eerie presence. Its winding course, shadowed banks, and thick vegetation make it difficult to see more than a few feet in any direction at night. Fog frequently drifts over the water, distorting shapes and sounds, while overhanging branches and cypress knees cast strange shadows that seem to move independently. Hidden bends, deep pools, and submerged logs add to the river's natural hazards, making nighttime navigation treacherous even for those familiar with the water. These environmental factors, combined with the stories passed down for generations, create an atmosphere where the legend of the Pascagoula Phantom thrives. Skeptics argue that sightings of the phantom are illusions or misinterpretations of natural phenomena. Shadows cast by moonlight on the water, floating debris, or fog moving through the trees can appear to resemble a figure. Reflections and ripples in the river can create shapes that seem almost human. Yet even skeptics concede that the sensation of being watched is real. Countless reports over decades describe experiences that cannot be easily dismissed. And the persistence of the legend suggests that the river holds a mystery that continues to capture the imagination of those who encounter it. Some interpretations suggest that the Pascagoula Phantom is not malevolent. Instead, it is a guardian, ensuring that the river and its surroundings are treated with respect. Those who fish responsibly, hike carefully, or navigate the river thoughtfully may encounter nothing more than an eerie awareness of a presence. Those who pollute, trespass, or act recklessly along the banks are more likely to experience unexplained disturbances. A warning, perhaps, that the river will not be disrespected. In this way, the phantom represents both the history of the river and the idea that some natural spaces demand reverence. Today, the Pascagoula River continues to flow quietly through southeastern Mississippi, a place of beauty, life, and recreation. Its waters support wildlife, anglers, and boaters, while its banks shelter dense forests and wetlands. Yet as night falls and fog settles over the river, the stories of the Pascagoula Phantom come alive. Shadows flicker along the banks, ripples appear without wind, and the sensation of unseen eyes watching is felt more keenly. For those who pass through, the river is a reminder that some places are alive with unseen forces, where the line between history, legend, and the present is blurred. The Pascagoula Phantom endures as both mystery and legend, a silent guardian of the river whose story has been carried along its currents for generations. Whether a spirit, a product of imagination, or a manifestation of the river's wild energy, it serves as a reminder that the natural world holds secrets beyond understanding. Those who travel its waters are warned to respect its depths, tread carefully along its banks, and remember that some rivers are more than they seem, watched over by forces that linger in shadow, waiting for those who venture too close to forget the river's power. The Pascagoula River, winding through the dense forests and lowlands of southwestern Mississippi, is a river of quiet beauty and shadowed mystery. Its clear waters reflect the towering oaks, cypress, and pines that line its banks, while herons, turtles, and other wildlife navigate its gentle currents. During the day, the river is a haven for fishermen, canoeists, and nature enthusiasts, offering peaceful solitude amidst its scenic surroundings. Yet as night falls, the river transforms. Mist rises from the water, shadows stretch along the banks, and locals whisper of a spectral presence known as the Pascagoula Phantom, a ghostly figure said to haunt the river and its surrounding forests, appearing to those who venture too close after dark. The origins of the Pascagoula Phantom are shrouded in history, tied to the turbulent past of the region. Some stories suggest that the spirit is that of a Native American warrior who perished in battle near the river, defending his people from encroaching settlers. Others claim the phantom is the ghost of an early settler who drowned in the river under mysterious circumstances. His soul unable to find rest. Whatever its origin, the phantom has become an enduring part of local folklore, a symbol of the river's mysterious power and the lingering echoes of its past. Sightings of the Hamakito phantom are rare but chilling. Witnesses describe a shadowy figure moving silently along the riverbanks, often seen between the trees or in the mist hovering over the water. Its form is indistinct, sometimes appearing as a tall, humanoid silhouette, at other times as a fleeting shadow that disappears when approached. Many who have encountered the phantom report an overwhelming sense of being watched, a sensation so strong that it leaves the hair on their arms standing on end. Some have heard whispers, faint and unintelligible, carried across the river by the wind, seeming to call or warn them, only to vanish as suddenly as they appeared. One story comes from a local hunter who frequented the river for decades. One autumn evening, as he crossed a narrow bend in his canoe, he noticed a dark figure standing on the opposite bank. At first, he assumed it was another hunter or a hiker, but as he drew closer, the figure remained motionless, almost as if it were watching him. The air grew unnaturally cold, and a heavy silence fell over the river. Suddenly, he heard faint whispers, as though the figure were speaking directly to him. Though the words were impossible to understand, terrified, he paddled to the nearest shore, glancing back to see only the mist swirling along the bank, the phantom gone, as if it had never been there. From that day on, he spoke of the Hamakito phantom with reverence, warning others to respect the river and its unseen guardian. Other encounters share a similar pattern. Campers along the river have reported hearing footsteps around their tents when no one is present, or glimpsing shadows flit between trees in the dead of night. Hikers describe the sensation of eyes following them through dense underbrush, while fishermen sometimes feel a sudden chill sweep across the water, accompanied by ripples that have no discernible cause. Longtime residents agree that the river carries a presence after dark, something beyond ordinary wildlife or natural phenomena, and the Hamakito phantom has become synonymous with these mysterious experiences. The geography of the Hamakito River contributes to its eerie reputation. Its winding course, shaded by towering trees, creates pockets of darkness and concealment where shadows can play tricks on the mind. Mist often rises in the evening or early morning, blurring outlines and obscuring depths, while the river's pools, bends, and hidden channels provide places for the phantom to appear and vanish without warning. Fallen logs and submerged debris add to the river's treacherous nature, creating natural hazards that can be mistaken for supernatural disturbances. In this environment, the line between reality and legend blurs, and the presence of the phantom feels plausible to those who travel the river at night. Skeptics argue that the phantom is a product of imagination, fueled by the isolation and atmospheric conditions of the river. Fog, shadows, and the play of light on the water can easily create illusions, while sounds carried across the river can be distorted by the trees and underbrush. Yet even those who attempt rational explanations admit that the stories are consistent across generations and the experiences reported are often accompanied by sensations, an unshakable feeling of being watched, whispers in empty spaces, and sudden chills that are difficult to attribute solely to natural causes. Some interpretations suggest that the Hamakito phantom is not malevolent but protective. Those who respect the river and its surroundings may pass safely, while those who act recklessly, litter, or disturb the wildlife may encounter its presence as a warning. The phantom, in this view, embodies the river's memory and spirit, a guardian of the land and water whose purpose is to maintain balance. Whether it punishes, warns, or simply observes, the figure serves as a reminder that the Hamakito River is more than a physical environment. It is a place alive with history, energy, and mystery. Today, the Hamakito River remains a popular destination for recreation, yet its spectral legend endures. Kayakers drift along the calm waters, anglers cast their lines, and wildlife thrives along the banks. But as twilight falls and mist rises from the water, the stories of the Hamakito phantom come alive once more. Shadows seem to move independently. Whispers float across the river, and the sensation of unseen eyes watching grows stronger. Visitors and locals alike are reminded that the river is a place of both natural beauty and lingering mystery, where the past is never fully gone, and where the spirit of the Hamakito phantom continues to wander. For those who walk its banks or paddle its waters, the Hamakito River offers both serenity and suspense. It is a place where history, legend, and nature intersect, where unseen forces may linger, and where the stories of the past continue to ripple across the water. The Hamakito phantom endures as a sentinel of the river, a spectral presence that warns, observes, and reminds all who encounter it that the river is more than a simple body of water. It is a living, breathing entity carrying the weight of centuries and the whispers of those who have come before. The Ohio River, winding its way through the landscapes of southeastern Mississippi, presents a serene and picturesque scene by day. Its waters glint in the sunlight, reflecting the dense forests and open fields that line its banks. Fishermen cast their lines into quiet pools, while kayakers and boaters glide along its gentle bends, enjoying the calm and rhythm of the river. Yet beneath this tranquil surface, stories have persisted for generations, tales of a mysterious, serpentine creature known as the Ohio Beast, described as a massive, elusive entity inhabiting the river's depths. The Ohio Beast has captured the imagination of locals and travelers alike, adding a shiver of unease to what might otherwise seem a peaceful waterway. The origins of the Ohio Beast legend are difficult to trace, though whispers of the creature date back to the early settlement of the region. Some accounts suggest that early Native American tribes spoke of a guardian of the river, a creature both revered and feared, that ensured the waters and the surrounding land were treated with respect. Others claim that the first settlers observed strange movements in the river, ripples and splashes far too large to be caused by ordinary fish, which eventually grew into stories of a singular beast lurking below the surface. Over time, these accounts coalesced into the legend of the Ohio Beast, a creature rarely seen but felt, a mysterious presence that continues to haunt the river to this day. Witnesses describe the Ohio Beast as a long, serpentine figure, its scales dark and slick, capable of moving with remarkable speed beneath the water. Some reports mention glowing eyes that pierce the darkness, while others describe the creature as undulating body as it breaks the surface before disappearing into the depths. The beast is seldom aggressive, though its presence is said to provoke a profound unease in those who encounter it. Fishermen often report sudden drops in temperature while navigating certain bends of the river, accompanied by the sensation of being watched. Boaters tell of unexplained ripples surrounding their vessels, movements that cannot be accounted for by wind or current, leaving them with the distinct impression that something enormous lurks just below the water. One account comes from a pair of local fishermen who were casting lines near a bend where the river curves sharply between dense forests. As the sun dipped below the horizon, they noticed an unusual stillness in the air, the usual calls of birds and insects fading into silence. Suddenly, a wave surged beneath their boat, lifting it slightly, as if something beneath was testing its strength. Moments later, a shadow moved beneath the surface, long and sinuous, almost twice the length of their boat. Both men froze, hearts pounding, and stared as the water returned to its usual calm. They later spoke of the Ohio Beast, describing the encounter as unnerving yet unforgettably, presence that left them with a lingering sense of awe and fear. Other sightings are equally unsettling. Hikers along the riverbanks have reported hearing strange splashes and isolated pools when no one else is present. Kayakers speak of sudden currents appearing out of nowhere, tugging at their vessels in ways that feel deliberate, as though something is guiding or observing them. Campers along the river have described glimpsing massive shadows beneath the water at night, shapes that vanish before they can be identified. Even those who have never seen the creature admit to the eerie atmosphere of certain stretches of the Ohio River, where the water seems alive and the sense of being watched is palpable. The geography of the Ohio River contributes to the plausibility of such encounters. Its winding channels, shaded banks, and deep pools provide ample hiding places for large aquatic creatures. Fog frequently drifts over the water, distorting shapes and sounds, while submerged logs and uneven riverbeds create currents and disturbances that can easily startle or confuse even experienced boaters. These natural features, combined with the low light of evening or early morning, make the river an ideal setting for the legend of a hidden beast to thrive. Even ordinary occurrences, ripples, waves, or reflections can appear unnatural, reinforcing the notion that something extraordinary inhabits these waters. Skeptics argue that sightings of the Ohio beast can be explained by alligators, sturgeon, or other large fish native to the region. The river's currents and hidden obstacles can produce disturbances that appear deliberate, while fog and shadows can distort perception. Yet the consistency of the accounts over decades, along with the unique sensations, purported sudden cold, feelings of being watched, and unexplained movements, suggests that the legend is more than mere imagination. Locals and visitors alike respect the river, wary of its depths and mindful of the stories that have been told for generations. Some interpretations suggest that the Ohio beast is a guardian rather than a predator. Those who navigate the river responsibly, respecting its wildlife and natural balance, may encounter nothing more than a fleeting ripple or shadow. Those who act recklessly pollute or disturb the river may find themselves on the receiving end of strange disturbances or unsettling sensations, a reminder that the Ohio River is not simply a body of water, but a living ecosystem with a presence that defies human understanding. Today, the Ohio River remains a popular site for recreation, drawing anglers, boaters, and explorers to its winding waters. By day, it is serene and inviting, a haven for nature and leisure. But as dusk falls, and mist and shadows gather along its banks, the stories of the Ohio beast come alive. Ripples appear where there should be none, currents shift unexpectedly, and the sense of being observed intensifies. For those who traverse these waters, the legend serves as both warning and fascination, a reminder that the river conceals forces beyond comprehension. The Ohio beast endures as a figure of mystery, a creature that embodies the untamed nature of the river. Whether it exists as a physical entity, a guardian spirit, or a product of imagination, the legend ensures that the Ohio River is never taken for granted. Those who paddle, fish, or explore its waters are reminded to respect its currents, remain vigilant, and honor the stories passed down through generations. In the depths of the Ohio River, whether real or imagined, the Ohio beast continues to swim, a silent guardian and a haunting presence shaping the way all who encounter the river perceive its waters and the mysteries they conceal. The Big Sunflower River, stretching through the heart of the Mississippi Delta, carries with it a quiet beauty and a sense of timelessness. Its winding course cuts through fertile farmland, cypress-lined banks, and stretches of low-lying forest, reflecting the golden hues of sunset and the soft greens of surrounding fields. By day, the river is a serene escape for fishermen, kayak, and locals who stroll along its banks, enjoying the gentle ripple of water and the calls of herons and egrets. Yet beneath this calm surface lies a story that has haunted the Delta for generations. The legend of the Sunflower Lady, a spectral figure whose presence evokes both sorrow and awe. The Sunflower Lady is said to be the spirit of a woman who lost her life, tragically, while searching for her child. Long ago, in a time before the riverbanks were dotted with towns and levees, a mother wandered along the river, desperate to find her missing child who had slipped into the waters. Despite her frantic search, the river claimed her life, and she drowned before she could reach her child. According to local lore, her grief was so profound that it tethered her spirit to the river forever. On quiet evenings, particularly at dusk, witnesses claimed to see a ghostly figure in a flowing white gown, gliding across the water, her head bowed and arms outstretched, as though still seeking the child she lost. Encounters with the Sunflower Lady are both rare and unsettling. One fisherman, navigating the river in the early evening, reported seeing a white silhouette standing on the far bank. At first, he assumed it was a reflection of the waning sunlight or a passing mist, but as he drew closer, the figure seemed to move independently, gliding along the water's edge. The man described a deep sense of sorrow emanating from the apparition, a feeling so intense that he felt chilled to the bone. He later said that the figure paused and looked directly at him, before vanishing into the evening fog, leaving only the sound of the river and his racing heartbeat. Other accounts reinforce the haunting consistency of the legend. Campers along the river speak of glimpsing the white figure through the trees at dusk, always at the edge of their vision, vanishing when looked at directly. Hikers report a sudden drop in temperature when walking near certain bends of the river, accompanied by a faint scent of wildflowers or wet earth. Some witnesses describe hearing soft, mournful sobs or the distant cry of a child carried across the water on the evening breeze. These experiences, while unsettling, are never accompanied by aggression. Instead, the Sunflower Lady seems to embody grief, loss, and the lingering bonds of a mother's love. The geography of the Big Sunflower River enhances the eerie qualities of the legend. Its meandering course, shaded by towering trees and overhanging branches, creates hidden coves and pools where shadows play tricks on the eyes. Early evening mist rises from the water in the warm months, distorting shapes and blending them with the fading light. Submerged logs and uneven riverbeds produce ripples and splashes that can appear deliberate, adding to the sense that the river is inhabited by something more than fish or wildlife. Even for those familiar with the river, certain bends and stretches feel charged with an unseen presence. And the stories of the Sunflower Lady help explain the chill that sometimes grips the air along these waters. Skeptics often attribute sightings to natural phenomena. Reflections on the water, fog, and shifting shadows can create illusions of human forms, while the mind, primed by stories, fills in the rest. Yet those who have experienced the apparition consistently describe similar features: a flowing white gown, a figure moving against the natural current of wind or water, and a profound feeling of loss or sadness. This consistency, repeated over decades, has cemented the Sunflower Lady as a central figure in the folklore of the Mississippi Delta. Some versions of the legend suggest that the Sunflower Lady is more than a ghost. She is a reminder of the river's power and the fragility of life along its banks. The Delta has long been a place where the river provides sustenance, but can also bring danger. Floods, sudden currents, and hidden depths have claimed lives over the centuries. And the Sunflower Lady is seen by many as a symbol of respect for the river and the lives it has taken. Those who encounter her are often left with a lingering reverence for the waters and a deeper appreciation for the delicate balance of nature. Today, the Big Sunflower River continues to flow through the Delta, a place of beauty, life, and history. Fishermen cast lines, kayakers glide along the bends, and families picnic along its banks. Yet as the sun dips toward the horizon and the river settles into the quiet of evening, the legend of the Sunflower Lady comes alive. Shadows stretch across the water, mist rises from hidden pools, and the silhouette of a woman in white may appear, gliding silently along the shore. The air grows heavy with a sense of sorrow, and the river seems to whisper stories of loss and longing. For those who visit, the Big Sunflower River offers both calm and caution. It is a place where beauty and mystery coexist, where the past lingers in the present, and where the human heart can sense the weight of grief carried across the water. The Sunflower Lady endures as a spectral presence, forever searching, forever tied to the river that claimed her life. She reminds all who encounter her that the Big Sunflower River is more than a body of water. It is a vessel of stories, sorrow, and enduring legend. The ghostly figure gliding across its surface ensures that the river's mysteries remain alive, inviting awe, respect, and reflection for generations to come. Bayou Pier, winding quietly through the swamps and forests of southwestern Mississippi, is a place of natural beauty and haunting mystery. Its murky waters, often hidden beneath layers of floating vegetation and tangled roots, reflect the towering cypress trees and dense underbrush that line its banks. By day, the bayou is a haven for fishermen, birdwatchers, and adventurers drawn to its secluded charm. Herons, egrets, and turtles navigate its waters, while the occasional alligator slips silently beneath the surface. Yet beneath this calm exterior, local legend speaks of a darker presence. The Swamp Witch of Bayou Pier, a spectral figure said to haunt the shadows, casting spells and watching those who venture too close. The origins of the swamp, which are as murky as the waters she inhabits. Some say she was a woman who lived centuries ago, a healer and wise woman in her community who became feared for her knowledge of herbs, potions, and the arcane. Others claim she was a victim of betrayal or persecution, cursed in death to wander the bayou for eternity. Over time, her story became entwined with the bayou itself, a symbol of the dangers and mysteries that the waters conceal. To the locals, the swamp, which is not merely a tale told to frighten children, she is a warning, a reminder that the bayou is alive and should not be treated lightly. Those who claim to have encountered the swamp would speak of an oppressive weight in the air, a sudden chill that descends even in the warmth of summer. Fishermen recount moments when their lines catch on nothing, or their boats feel inexplicably heavier, as though some unseen force is pressing down from the shadows. Campers along the bayou tell of hearing whispered voices among the trees, voices that rise and fall like the wind but carry an unmistakable intent, as if the witch herself is observing and judging their presence. Hikers speak of shadowy figures glimpsed through dense vegetation, disappearing when approached, leaving only the rustle of leaves and the creak of branches behind. One account comes from a group of men who were fishing late one evening. As darkness fell over the bayou, a heavy mist rolled across the water, blurring the line between river and bank. Suddenly, the air grew cold, and a thick, almost tangible pressure seemed to settle over their boat. Out of the fog, a dark silhouette appeared among the cypress trees, a figure with a long cloak and what seemed to be glowing eyes. The men froze, unable to move as the figure glided silently along the shoreline, stopping occasionally as if surveying them. Moments later, the shadow melted back into the trees, leaving an eerie stillness and an unshakable sense that they were being watched. Terrified, the men left immediately, their story spreading through the small communities near the bayou. Other sightings are less dramatic but equally unsettling. Kayakers have reported sudden, inexplicable currents tugging at their vessels, lending them toward hidden obstacles or thick vegetation. Campers have described their fires extinguishing mysteriously, despite calm winds, or hearing footsteps circling their tents in the dead of night. Residents tell tales of livestock disappearing or behaving erratically near the bayou, seemingly influenced by the witch's presence. Over the years, these stories have coalesced into a collective memory, a persistent belief that Bayou Pier is under the watch of a guardian or a harbinger that should not be ignored. The geography of Bayou Pier enhances its eerie reputation. Its winding channels, thick vegetation, and partially submerged trees create an environment where shadows move in unpredictable ways. Fog frequently settles over the water, transforming familiar paths into a maze of shapes and silhouettes. Submerged logs and snags produce strange sounds as water currents shift, and the reflection of moonlight on dark water can create the illusion of figures where none exist. For those unfamiliar with the bayou, its twists and turns can be disorienting, and the combination of natural hazards and atmospheric conditions makes the idea of a supernatural presence feel all too plausible. Skeptics argue that the swamp, which is a product of folklore, a story to explain the natural dangers of the bayou, shadows, reflections, and drifting mist, can easily create illusions, while animals moving through the underbrush may account for the sounds people attribute to her. Yet even skeptics concede that the consistent reports of heavy air, sudden cold, and the feeling of being observed are difficult to explain entirely through natural phenomena. The stories endure, pass from generation to generation, serving as both entertainment and cautionary tales for those who navigate the bayou. Some interpretations suggest the swamp, which is not purely malevolent but protective. Those who approach the bayou with respect, avoiding reckless behavior or disturbance of wildlife, may experience only fleeting glimpses or a subtle awareness of her presence. In this sense, she is a guardian of Bayou Pier, ensuring that the delicate balance of life along the water is maintained. Today, Bayou Pier continues to draw adventurers, fishermen, and explorers to its winding channels and dense banks. Its waters teem with life, and its forests shelter countless species of flora and fauna. Yet, as dusk falls and the mist rises, the stories of the swamp which awaken once more. Shadowy forms flicker among the trees, unexplained ripples appear on the water, and the oppressive weight of her presence can be felt by those who venture too close. For locals and visitors alike, the bayou remains a place of awe, caution, and enduring mystery. The swamp witch of Bayou Pier endures as both legend and warning. Whether she is a spirit, a product of imagination, or a force born of the bayou itself, her story ensures that the river and its surrounding forests are approached with respect. Those who travel its waters or walk along its banks are reminded that some places are alive in ways beyond human understanding, where unseen eyes watch, and the very air carries whispers of old magic. In the shadowed depths of Bayou Pier, the swamp which waits, a spectral guardian of water, land, and legend, keeping the mysteries of the bayou alive for generations to come. Southern Mississippi is dotted with winding creeks and rivers that invite paddlers to explore their tranquil waters, dense forests, and shaded banks. Among these waterways, one creek has gained a reputation for strange and unsettling occurrences that have captured the imagination of locals and visitors alike. Canoeists and kayakers frequently navigate its gentle bends, seeking solitude and connection with nature. But some have returned with stories that suggest this creek is more than just a peaceful retreat. It may be home to a mysterious water spirit. The first reports began decades ago, when local residents and outdoor enthusiasts noticed unusual patterns along the creek. Paddlers often described sudden splashes in calm waters, ripples appearing where no wind or current should have caused them. Some claimed to hear faint, almost human-like sounds echoing across the trees. A whisper carried by the river breeze that could not be traced to any animal or other source. Most unsettling of all, many reported the persistent sensation of being watched, as if unseen eyes followed them along the water, studying their movements from beneath the surface or within the dense shadows of the overhanging trees. One kayaker recounted an experience that has become a well-known tale among locals. While paddling in the late afternoon, she noticed the water around her begin to stir, even though the wind had died down. Small waves lapped against her kayak with no apparent cause, and the reflection of the surrounding trees appeared distorted, as if something large moved beneath the surface. She felt an unmistakable chill run down her spine and turned to see a shadow lingering near a bend in the creek. Though the figure never fully emerged, its presence was undeniable, a silent watcher that seemed to follow her every movement. Terrified yet compelled, she paddled quickly back to the shore, later sharing her story with fellow paddlers who confirmed similar experiences. Other visitors report hearing noises that seem to come from nowhere. The sound of something large moving underwater, a sudden splash that follows the rhythm of their paddling, or a low vibrating hum that fades as quickly as it begins. Some campers along the creek have described waking to find their kayaks or canoes slightly displaced. Though no current or animal could explain the movement, even experienced locals, familiar with the river's twists and turns, admit that the creek can feel alive in a way that defies explanation, an intangible presence that cannot be easily dismissed. The legend of the water spirit has grown from these repeated encounters. Locals often speak of it as a guardian of the creek, a being that inhabits the water and the surrounding environment, watching those who traverse its bends. Some describe it as playful but cautious, creating disturbances that are meant to warn rather than harm. Others see it as more ominous, a creature tied to the ancient spirits of the region's rivers and swamps, reminding humans that these waterways are not simply passive landscapes, but living, breathing ecosystems. Skeptics suggest natural explanations for the strange occurrences. Currents hidden beneath overhanging trees, the sudden movement of logs, or optical illusions created by sunlight on rippling water. Yet even they admit that the persistent feeling of being observed, the inexplicable splashes, and the consistent accounts from different paddlers over decades make the legend difficult to entirely explain away. It is this combination of mystery and shared experience that keeps the tale alive, compelling newcomers to approach the creek with both curiosity and caution. Today, southern Mississippi's creek remains a popular destination for canoeing and kayaking, attracting visitors drawn to its beauty and serenity. By day, the water gleams under the sun, and wildlife thrives along its banks. But as the light wanes and shadows deepen, the stories of the water spirit come to life. Ripples appear without reason, subtle splashes echo in the quiet air, and paddlers feel the lingering sense of unseen eyes watching from beneath the surface. Whether guardian, specter, or the product of imagination, the water spirit of this creek endures as a reminder that even in the most serene and familiar places, the natural world can hold secrets beyond human understanding, waiting to be experienced by those who venture too close. As we leave the haunted rivers of Mississippi behind, their whispered secrets and shadowy figures remain, floating just out of sight beneath the waters and in the mists. These tales remind us that the past has never truly gone, and that every river has its own story to tell, sometimes chilling, sometimes sorrowful, but always unforgettable. Thank you for joining us on this journey through mystery and the unexplained. Until next time, keep your senses sharp, and remember, the spirits of Mississippi's rivers are never far away.